Okay. Our program director, which is Mr. Jeffrey Zhong, okay, has announced that I can start. So I'm here. I'm going to start it. Okay. By the way, I'm Linda Lee, Professor Linda Lee. Okay, of CityU University. I'm the director of this Research Center for Sustainable Hong Kong. Finally, after more than a year, our program on this workshop series focusing on the participation of Hong Kong professional services and business in overseas jurisdictions along the Belt and Road, broadly defined, okay, has now come to the most important activity, namely the closing roundtable discussion. A year ago, actually more than a year ago, we held the Opening Symposium in which we announced this program, and thereafter we have organized 6 workshops covering 7 overseas jurisdictions. So today we are here to ride on what we have discussed, and so we hope to deduce some of the highlights and insights from the previous discussions, and with the help of some of our distinguished workshop speakers, and many of our other speakers, they are in the audience, in the participants today. So today is not another workshop, but it is organized and designed as a roundtable, even though we have to conduct it without a table. Okay, our roundtable is virtual and extended to your home, okay, to workplace and everywhere where you are. So let me reiterate the purpose of this workshop series, and which we hope that today can help us to add to it. Namely, we want to, because Hong Kong has been an international city, international trade and international collaboration has been a hallmark of Hong Kong. So under the background of the Belt and Road Initiative of the Chinese government, of course, Hong Kong has been thinking how we can kind of contribute, all right, or take part in those very important activities. But without Belt and Road, I think this overseas investment and international collaboration has been the trademark of Hong Kong. I think so. That's why, I think it is very important for us to draw from our previous experience and to learn from our pioneers and already a lot of industries and practitioners that has been in that trade, and then for our other practitioners and business who might be interested in our future generations, of course, our younger generations of future professionals and future business person, men and women, to benefit from all this, the experiences and consideration, including challenges and the lessons learned, okay, from previous difficulties. So I think that is a statement to simply to summarize, okay, what we try to do, and we look forward to a vibrant discussion today. What we're trying to do today is actually having more discussions, okay, and along the themes that I discussed. And then before we do so, I will invite 2 of our core members of the team to briefly summarize, okay, a little bit on the 2 aspects of our previous work. The first one is I will call upon my colleague, Professor Phyllis, our Center's Associate Director, to talk about our engagement. Thank you, Phyllis.
Okay, thank you, Linda. In the following, I would like to take stock what we have done in the past year. So as mentioned, in the last year, we have we have conduct one opening symposium and also 6 workshops covering 7 countries. Sorry. Okay, thank you. So we have our opening symposium in January, and then following that, in the our first workshop is on Cambodia in February, and then following in the following months, in every 2 months, we cover different countries. So for Sri Lanka, we have it in April, Vietnam in June, and then Malaysia in August, Belarus and Djibouti in October, and finally Myanmar in December. So overall, we would like to thank our different business association and organization in helping us to promote and also recruiting participants for the symposium and training workshop. And in particular, we would like to thank our sponsor, Golden Resources Group and Red Circle Company Limited, and also 6 of our collaborating organizations, the Hong Kong Institute of Certified Public Accountants, the Chinese General Chamber of Commerce, Hong Kong General Chamber of Commerce, the Institute of Certified Management Accountant Australia, Society of Chinese Accountants and Auditors, and the Law Society of Hong Kong. In addition, we have also other supporting organizations, including the following 6 organizations and different supporting units from within CityU. In addition to that, we have also other supporting organization for specific country workshops. For example, for Cambodia, we have the Institute of China Studies, Royal Academy of Cambodia. For Vietnam, we have 4 supporting organizations. And for Malaysia, we also have 3. And Belarus and Djibouti, we are 1. In addition to those supporting organizations, we also have engaged in different speakers and also panel discussion and guests. And overall, we have almost engaged 100 speakers and participants, speakers, discussion and guests. And they are come from different sectors with different expertise, including council generals, government officials, business chamber chairpersons, investors, industrial park and special economic zone managers, representatives from the state-owned enterprises, also professionals from accountancy, law, legal, and other banking industries, in addition to scholars. Regarding our participants, I'm very glad to share with you that we have almost close to 1,500 participants attending our activities while Zoom. This figure is substantially exceeding our proposed target, and it is almost double our proposed targets. And regarding the online registration, actually we have close to 1,900, and the turn-up rate was about 80%. In addition to that, actually there are over 10,000 page views, which is very significant. Okay, and then for the geographical and also sectorial distribution of our participants, according to our analysis, is that most of the participants are from Hong Kong, over 85%. Okay, however, in addition to that, we have 15% of our participants come from other areas, and including different countries in Europe, also Africa, Asia, etc. It covers almost 30 countries and regions. Okay, so it is that although our original target are for our mainly for Hong Kong business professional, etc., but in fact we have successfully in achieving to make our program to be well received from other areas. When we analyzed our participants from the sectors, which sectors they come from, then as you can see in the pie chart, that over 40% are from the accounting and finance, and about 25% are from business, executive and management, and then the remaining are quite diversified, covering from government, construction, engineering, education, etc. So we got in addition. Sorry. Yes. Okay. So for the after each workshop, we also have sent out the event survey, and then ask the participant to give us some feedbacks to see what are their satisfaction about our activities, and about their views on the challenge and opportunity of the workshops. Okay. Overall, we have received over 600 responses, which representing about 40% of the Zoom participants to our survey. And the average overall rating on this about our workshop and symposium is that it is the rating is 4.3 out of 5. Okay, and they are also have some very encouraging comment and feedback received. So finally, we talk about how our workshops have any impact, or what are the how we deliver, or how we disseminate our deliverables. Okay, actually, our project and activity have attracted report by medias, organized newspapers, including newspapers and also other media organizations in Hong Kong. In addition to those to our workshop, okay, we also have disseminate our working paper, which summarize the key findings from the symposium and workshop. And those working papers are being were released to participants by emails, and we also publicize on our CSHK website and also social media platform. Actually, before the each workshop, we have prepared the training pack covering the 6 countries. Okay. And those training paths we will disseminate it to speakers and also the registered participants before the workshop to facilitate their discussion during the workshop. The pack were also released to the public as technical report after the workshop. This is actually acting as a means to enhance the public education and also discussion on the subject matters. And in fact, we also received requests from us to have a full set of those training pack. Okay. Finally, is that we are in the process of producing videos to summarize the key findings from the symposium and workshop. And That's all for my part. And may I pass back to Linda? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Phyllis. Well, I think I just want to add that on impact, we try to do our best actually to provide some inputs, okay, to all of us. But whether we have some impact really, depends on you. And then, of course, we welcome your feedback and your comments, and let us know, how we can improve. And in fact, whatever feedback and comments from you are most valuable. So in fact, we have been considering and planning, I would say, okay, after this closing symposium, we will send a longer survey, okay, to all of you, including our participants and our discussants, okay. And please help us to understand a bit more what you think about, from your perspective, what we have done, or how those discussions has enabled you to think further on what you have been doing or you might do in the future. Okay, so those information would be most valuable to us. So please do help us, okay, on that. And by the way, the impact is with you, not with us. Okay, thank you. So may I invite now our another core member of the team, Dr. Linda Tjia. She would share, give us a bird's eye view, okay, of some of the highlights of the discussions from our previous workshops, and then that will pave the road for our roundtable discussion of today. Thanks, Linda.
Sure, happy to do that. So can you hear me clearly? Because I'm not at the campus. I am Linda Tjia, colleague of Linda Lee, so that you don't confuse the two Lindas of this program. So I am happy to take this opportunity to just briefly highlight some of the interesting discussions that we got from the experts during the past workshops. And as Linda Lee mentioned, this is by no means comprehensive, and it is also by no means very, very updated because things change rapidly these days. But this brief highlights will certainly open up the discussions to be conducted after my brief highlights. So as we mentioned earlier, we have conducted a number of workshops in typical countries along the Belt and Road that we have chosen and we think are interested, including Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Vietnam, Malaysia, Djibouti, Belarus, and Myanmar. And we want to look at how things going on in these countries have impact on Hong Kong as well, and vice versa. When we look at this interesting involvements of Belt and Road initiative and activities in these countries, we basically focus on a number of attributes, as you can see in this slide, including political stability and security, legitimacy, how the country's government's trying to gain their legitimacy. We also look at their historical legacies. We think this would have very interesting impacts on the current developments. And we also focus on equity and distribution of benefits, because this would have a lot of impacts on the stakeholders. And environment is also a very important concern for our discussions. We also have experts and local practitioners discuss about the culture and religion, which also has a very important impact on the mass community. Lastly, we take a look at the impact of being transparent and also how communications would have affected the implementation of those enroll initiative and activities. So, for example, I just briefly highlight a little bit of the country's variations in all these attributes. For example, when we look at political stability and security, definitely Myanmar would be very interesting for us to look at because of the recent political disruptions. It might have some kind of negative impact on the stability, and we have experts looking at how, you know, incoming entrepreneurs may need to be aware of when they want to invest or they want to involve in anything happen in Myanmar. On the other hand, when we talk about things happen in Cambodia, we can see that the Cambodian government has taken a lot of actions and initiative to attract foreign investment. So we see things happening differently in different Belt and Road countries. When we look at legitimacy, Sri Lanka definitely poses an interesting story because there are very diversified public opinions towards Chinese investment in Sri Lanka. And that would have an impact on how the local government in Sri Lanka play around with what kind of things they need to do in order to gain more legitimacy. And that in turn would affect how Chinese and also Hong Kong enterprises who want to set foot in the countries. And then if we look at the Djibouti, we can see that the port city in the country also has many potentials to develop. And then this kind of economic activities would also have impact on the legitimacy. Speaking back to Sri Lanka's involvement, it has changed a lot. So later on during the discussions, we will have experts to discuss more update information on things like inflation or other power supply in the countries. So stay tuned to the discussion. Going back to my brief highlights, when we talk about and when we think about historical legitimacy, we also, for example, look at Cambodia, how Cambodia has a long history working with China, and this would also affect how Hong Kong can play a role in the country. Then we also take a look at distributions of benefits. Then I think the case in Malaysia would be very interesting because the country, as we learned from our experts, has a very interesting policy to protect local players. So they have a very high localization requirements on foreign investments, like 80% of localizations policy. So that would also affect how incoming new investors who want to set foot in Malaysia to plan in terms of how to arrange their labor deployment. And environment, as I mentioned, is very important. The high concern and the desire to protect environment. For example, in Sri Lanka, also make local people very aware of the impact or of the outcome of foreign investment in their countries, and therefore, when they care so much about environmental protection, they may have a different concern as compared to foreign investors who want to keep things to move ahead as quick as possible. So this kind of conflicting concerns may have a very important impact on how we should plan on our investment in countries like Sri Lanka, where people care so much about their green environment. We also look at, for example, Vietnam. The government actually has been very encouraging for investors to invest in green energy. In that sense, renewable energies, green power kind of investment would be one of the options for people who want to go to Vietnam. And when we look at cultural and religions impact, we have learned a lot from our discussions when they talk about how they conduct how they have their own business ventures in countries like Vietnam and Malaysia, where they have very distinctive Vietnamese culture. They have their own holidays where any foreign investors should actually pay attention to. In Malaysian, definitely we need to pay very close attention to the distinctive Muslim culture and the way of addressing people, body language, expressions, etc. So these are all the interesting things that we learn from the practitioners in these countries. Lastly, about transparency and communications, definitely Myanmar is a place where we need more transparent information about the things that are going on in the countries after the political disruption. So this is something that when new investors want to go in, explore opportunities in these kind of countries, need to pay attention to. And also like countries like Belarus, we also learn from our workshop discussions that people in Belarus are actually very open and they are very willing to communicate as long as people respect the culture and as long as people pay attention to their needs and desire. So these are all interesting highlights that we learned from the previous workshop. They are, as I mentioned, by no means comprehensive, but then they are something that I would just like to highlight a little bit so that we would be able to continue with the discussions, especially with more update information from our discussion. So I think I will stop here and I'll pass the floor back to Linda.
Thank you, Linda. Oh, a terrific summary. All right. I enjoyed listening to you. I think what occurs to us, when listening to Linda's highlights of the workshop's discussion, is that actually those items, okay, those items from political stability, legitimacy to transparency and communication. They are obviously very salient and important aspects of governance, and these would impact on major decisions, including obviously investment decisions. And secondly, on the one hand, we try to give some examples, and different countries will have different manifestations to these important issues, but I think they all share something common, is that they are all important. They're very, very important. It's only that, the manifestations would vary, from country to country and from time to time, right? So I think it would be, the workshop discussions actually give us a lot of food for thought, which we believe that would be useful actually not only for ourselves as researchers and teachers, but also hopefully that would be of some use in your future contemplation of what to do with your career and with your business plans in the future. So without further ado, I think we need to open and start our roundtable, which is the main jewel of today. So before we start, the roundtable is organized in 4 sessions. Okay, the first session we'll have start with 3 discussants, and then all discussants they will speak very briefly, a couple of minutes. Just to highlight, okay, to kickstart the discussion, and then we will open up for comments and among the discussants. I mean, all the of various sessions, and also questions from participants. So the participants, please, because because we are going just online, right? So in order to avoid technical problems, jamming of this voice message, I'm sorry that you participants, you have to text your questions and comments using the chat box, okay? And then when I see it, you know, we would register it, and then we would enter into the discussion, and then let's do it this way. So any participants, you have any questions anytime, you can already enter into the chat box and type in it. Okay, so without further ado, shall we start with the session one? And we have three speakers, and Professor Ratani, Subhashini, and Tjia. They are, I would save time, okay, because their biography are on our website, and then they have very distinguished achievements. So it would take me 5 minutes at least, you know, to read out their biography one by one. So I would be a little bit time conscious, okay? So I would go strictly to let them tell you what they want to share with you. So Ratana, Professor Ratani.
Yes, do you hear me?
Yes, very
Yes,
well. The time is yours.
Yes, very good morning, Professor Linda, and all respective speakers and participants. Yes, thank you very much for inviting me to have a discussion in these very important forums. First of all, I would like to congratulate to your hard work and your team, Professor Linda, to achieve, you know, until today, you have a lot of things, many things have been done and continue to do within the last few years. Yeah, and yeah, I am now just doing some part-time in education, and also give some consultancies with general education as well. So I don't have any full-time jobs because I want to relax for the hell of my life. But anyways, very happy to be in this. And then yes, thank you very much, Linda Yuan. If I call your name incorrect, so please forgive me. So for your very comprehensive, you know, and brief presentations on what have been done and we have so far. Yes, one thing I would like to share is, you know, under the COVID-19 situation, Cambodia have gone through a very bad time, especially in 2020s and 2021s. And the country just have fully opened in January 2022. So before that, we have also locked down for a period of times, and I also had bad times, loss of my family as well. Anyways, that history we learn. So now, right now, the situation in Cambodia relatively is fine. People know how to prevent and take care of the COVID-19. So we welcome fully for all, you know, international friends, colleagues, business person, student. If they want to visit Cambodia, just only follow the, you know, COVID-19 health prevention measure. But it's not much as like in the past 2 years ago and today. Those who got infection can stay at home and cure by themselves, because we have also import both the COVID-19 medicine to be cured. At least just take about 3 or 4 days and then definitely. So the political stability in Cambodia, it's fine. So it's very peaceful. So people continue to do business, mainly online business, saying to COVID-19 that help Cambodian people change their behaviors and nature of business from a person-to-person direct business to the online business. And the online business is getting booming in Cambodia today. So it seems that the people trust, you know, the online products. So they have been share and then have been doing this sector is very well. So we don't have any political problem. We are going to have the election, general election again in 2023. And Cambodian will host also Asian Game in 2023 as well. And then in terms of things, I think the Hong Kong have been one of the biggest investment with also good and reputation names for Cambodian and also for the world as well. And Hong Kong and Cambodian have enjoyed the a good business environment because things in 2017 the both government have initial agreement of free trade agreement. That is one thing, and then affects fully affect in 2019, and then the Cambodian also within ASEAN have signed free trade agreement with China as well. Also Cambodian signed free trade agreement with China in 2021. So it only take effect in February 2021. So I think Hong Kong continue to enjoy the business opportunity in Cambodia, and mainly they have been doing so far in the professional business, in the different service like legals, in mainly in light industry sector like garments, and some in education as well in Hong Kong with Cambodia. But one thing that I have found out that Hong Kong, for Cambodian people, regard Hong Kong as one of good education sectors. So they want to have higher education in any institution from Hong Kong to Cambodia, because Cambodian I think they can afford to pay high tuition fees. Because there are several universities that have also charged the fee from $4,000 per year up to 10,000, something like that. So I think that is also good to learn about education, and then you can think about how to invest in education sector to Cambodia for the future when everything come to normal. And the government of Cambodia welcome also the investment from in education sector from overseas, and they have various time measures for the Cambodian businessmen to have the higher education institution. But for general education is fine. But they welcome the the business in higher education sector from overseas. That is also should be looked at. And then I think the government sector also during this time have been affected, but it's not so much. It continue to do well throughout Cambodia. So since we have a very limited time, so what I can share with you, so Cambodia can continue to provide any free trade agreement, good opportunity to the foreign investment. It's not just only regarding Hong Kong, but to any foreign investment to Cambodia. And then the government will also provide special treatment and legal as well. I think up to from 1994 to 2018, based on the data I got, that is about 257 projects have been made in Cambodia by Hong Kong, but up till now maybe it's over than 300, 400 something that I do not have any data. So the data got from the Council for Development of Cambodia, like that. So I think it's a huge project, and Hong Kong contribute to a lot of economic development to Cambodia. For instance, in up to 2017, it's the worth of investment is only 1.33 billion US dollar. So it's quite a lot. This is because they have the both government have the free trade agreement, and then there are the agreement how to have a special treatment from the Cambodian government. So peace stability is the major at the core foundation in political stability of Cambodia. So the government try to do whatever to preserve peace and open more opportunity And during this COVID-19 is also welcome, whatever. So that I just share shortly information, and then we can have more discussion. Thank you. You to the time, Professor.
Thank you, Ratana. Thank you, Professor Yi. I have one quick question for you, but I'll leave it for later. Okay, I asked the question first, and then I will go to the other discussions. My question is for you to think about it. It's because I know anti-corruption has been a very important priority of the government and the society in Cambodia, right? To improve the quality of governance and also to improve investment climate. So what do you think, how Hong Kong can help, other than sharing our ICAC experience, but also our professional services? You don't need to answer right now, okay? Think about it, and then when we have the discussion, okay, I would love to hear your ideas on it. How Hong Kong professional services help with the anti-corruption work in Cambodia? Thanks.
Yes.
So we wait for you a little bit later, okay? So now may we turn to our second discussion. Subhashini Abasinga. Hello. Hello. Hi. Yeah, it's nice to see you. Okay. I really look forward to. So maybe I pass the time to you. All right.
Thank you for the organizers, and hello everyone. Good morning to you. I will just touch, because in this brief moment, on two observations made by Professor Linda in relation to Sri Lanka and the investments and engagements by foreign companies like Hong Kong companies in Sri Lanka. And secondly, I will touch on one area where I thought maybe Professor Linda has not expanded enough, but something that companies should be aware of. First is the observation about Sri Lanka's fiscal and trade deficit. And although Sri Lanka has been running very high fiscal and trade deficits and have been having very high levels of debt, in general, I think what she has observed is the resilience. I think the pandemic and also the geopolitical environment today tests the resilience of all countries. And unfortunately, Sri Lanka, just like Professor Linda identified, had very low capacity to absorb or face a shock. So we had very little fiscal space, and our foreign exchange earnings had not been that great. Our foreign reserves has always been very low. And today it is just we have only a few weeks of foreign reserves. And as a result, I think Sri Lanka has suffered, and on top of the shocks, I think Sri Lanka has made some bad policy decisions that even further reduced the ability of the country to absorb the shocks. So as a result, Sri Lanka is in a far worse place in the world compared to many other emerging and developing economies. Today, we are facing a severe dollar crisis and a shortage of dollars, which has led to Sri Lanka not being able to import essential items, including oil and gas, leading to shortages, and which spill overs to energy sector, and the country is experiencing 5 to 7 power cuts and gas shortages, and the foreign exchange, which the government, despite many analysts and experts saying the government doesn't have the ability to hold on to exchange rate, has tried to hold on to an exchange rate at a 210 level, which led to a massive black market where the exchange, the Sri Lankan dollar was being, exchanged at 250, 60, despite the official rate being at 210. At last, very recently, the government decided to let go of its attempt to control the exchange rate. And almost overnight, the exchange rate has crashed from 210 official rate to around about 250. So this obviously causes short-term pains. How long these short-term pains will last for companies, and of course, it has led very severe suffering for the people who are already facing a lot of problems because of the pandemic-related problems. So how long it will last remains quite a lot on how the government responds. the government has been very late in taking decisions, and as a result, the pain has actually, you could have reduced the pain if you took early decisions. So any investor interested in Sri Lanka may want to watch out and see how the Sri Lankan government, of course, the advice is Sri Lankan government cannot pay its debt, so it has to go for a restructuring. And debt restructuring is not easy, especially for a country where your debt is, majority of your debt is in international sovereign bonds. It makes it far more difficult. And of course, Sri Lanka needs expert advice, and we need to go to the International Monetary Fund. For both these things, we are quite late, and still there is debate and discussion and no decision. So you may want to watch out and try to understand, when you say short term, how short term these tend to be. Is it 6 months, 1 year, 2 years? How long these problems will remain, and whether they're going to escalate or reduce? Secondly, I would like to also touch on another observations Professor Linda has made about Chinese investments and public perception. And I think it's very important to understand that Sri Lanka being a small country located in a geographically important position in the Indian Ocean, has always been has viewed with suspicion any engagement by major powers in the world. And in the past, this included the West in general and United States in particular. So any engagement with United States is viewed with suspicion. And then, of course, India being a major regional power and a lot of historical grudges, like many other small countries, I'm sure, living near a major big country. And any investments, any engagement with India also is viewed within the public domain in suspicion. And over the last 10 years, China has gradually evolved into that level as well. And it is recognized as a major power that shakes and shapes global environment. And as a result, the China will definitely, any investments or any engagements by companies that originate from China will also face that same level of suspicion and from the public. Which brings me to the last point, which I quickly wrap up, which I felt Professor Linda may not want to look into further, or that the investors may want to look at, that is the public perception of corruption. So Sri Lankan public cares about corruption, and they are very frustrated and very unhappy about the secret deals and the opacity of the deals that the government enters into with foreign companies and foreign governments. There is very lot of public anger and public frustration about lack of transparency, lack of due process. And there is a lot of very large trust deficit about the interests of the politicians and bureaucrats as opposed to the public interest. And Sri Lankan public will express their opinion very strongly on social media and even on mainstream media. And therefore, any company that wants to, if you especially originate in one of these major powers, the likelihood of your company, if there is any scandal exposed, the likelihood of it going viral is very high. So be aware that Sri Lankan public really cares about corruption, and they can be very expressive they will express their anger, and also there can be political fallouts because the opposing politicians will always tag on to such scandals to attack the ruling government. And at election times, you need to be very mindful of that. And in the past, companies have been at the receiving end of public frustration, coupled with opposition parties trying to win score by attacking the ruling party. So thank you very much. I hope I have stuck to my time.
Thanks, Subhashini. I think your points are very solid and well taken. In fact, I think the crisis that you mentioned, the first point, okay, the current economic and financial, debt and energy crisis that Sri Lanka is facing. First of all, I hope, things will get better soon, okay, and our best wishes to Sri Lankan people. And also in particular, the third point you mentioned about the public perception of corruption, right? And the people are very concerned about how things what were happening, in other words. Okay, so I think this is all related to governance in general, right? So you mentioned professional help, right? Expert help. I think obviously we have a lot of a lot of knowledge within Sri Lanka already, right? But sometimes we all know that sometimes within the same family we have a lot of difficulties sometimes, right? So that's why we need guests from outside, and then the guests may be able to help a little bit, even though maybe this message would not be dramatically different, right? So I'm just wondering, maybe you keep some thought to it. To what extent professional services, because we have a lot of expertise in Hong Kong, right? To what extent these kind of expertise from Hong Kong, whether they are public financial experts, right? Talking about how to restructuring the debts, and or how to deal with energy crisis, right? Or even with how decision making, how the government deal with all these issues, right? And also about how to manage community expectation. I think all this would be maybe something that Hong Kong might be able to help a little bit. So I leave it to you to think about it. Maybe we can discuss it later on, okay? So let me move to our third discussion in this session first. Taro is also from Sri Lanka, okay? And he's from Hutchison Telecom Lanka. So Taro, the time is yours.
Thank you, Linda. Good morning to everybody at CityU, and good morning to all the participants. I see we have a large group of participants for this session yet again, which is very good to see, and shows the level of interest in this topic that has been organized by Linda and the team. I think Subhashini has done a very good job summarizing the socio-economic situation here in Sri Lanka. So I think I won't need to repeat what she has just mentioned. Let me just maybe look at it maybe more positively and see more about opportunities that might still exist. I mean, the environment, the situation that Sri Lanka is going through is typical. I mean, it's typical, maybe a little bit extreme, but it's typical of what you see in typical emerging markets, whether in Asia or Africa. It's not a very unusual situation. I'm sure we've all seen similar scenarios playing out in multiple emerging markets around the world. But as Subhashini may mention, it may be a little bit more extreme here, but it's something that happens in these kind of markets that investors should take into account when they consider to invest in an emerging market, whether Sri Lanka or any market in Asia. For that matter, Hutch, we're part of the Chung Kong group in Hong Kong, and we've been investing. We are long-term investor. We've been investing in Sri Lanka for more than 25 years. So we, as an investor, take a very long-term view. And as a result, we have gone through many such crises here in Sri Lanka over the last 25 years. We've gone through a 30-year civil war. We've gone through tsunami. We've gone through COVID. So we various political issues, the Easter bombing. So we go through these issues, and but we take a long-term perspective and long-term horizon. So what we see happening today in the last few months, and maybe in next 6 months or a year, is an economic reset that is happening that was perhaps long overdue. So that we're resetting the economy, what it should be. The exchange rate was 250, 260 in the black market, and now the government has set the rate to 250, 260. So it's a reset of the economy that's happening today, and there will be some short-term issues with the local economy and the population, but I think in the medium to long term, I think this reset was long overdue, and we need to now just move forward, in this current new environment. So with this research, there are opportunities. There are opportunities. There are opportunities. I mean, if you are an infrastructure, if you're an infrastructure investor, this short-term issue should not necessarily put you off. You should take a 10-year, 15-year horizon and see how we will progress over that kind of time frame. But maybe in the shorter term, opportunities, with the devaluation of the dollar, there are significant opportunities, for exporters, coming to Sri Lanka and basing themselves here, because obviously with the exchange rate going down significantly by nearly 30% overnight, there may be many opportunities for exporters to set up shop here and develop export markets, out of Sri Lanka. And in terms of addressing the Indian market, European market, as well as the Western markets as well. So I think we should look at this situation as, it's a situation that is resetting, and we should then look for, as I say, in any crisis, there's always opportunities, and we should look for opportunities that arise from this situation and see how we might be able to leverage them and see how to develop. We're facing various crises, as Subhashini mentioned, power crisis, fuel crisis, etc. So again, these could be opportunities for potential investors, major investors, to come in and see how they might be able to step in and address some of these issues. So I see opportunity. I mean, let's look at the glass half full. There are opportunities even in a situation like this we're facing right now, which I think investors can consider and factor in the risks, obviously, but then consider what opportunities could be there in Sri Lanka. Thank you.
Thank you, Thero. Well, I was reminded by Jeffrey that we are running out of time, but I'm thinking, I'm going to rescue a few minutes for your feedback to some of the questions. We have one question from a participant actually asking questions about risks and opportunities given the situation in Sri Lanka. But I think, Thero, you already gave the answer, right? You said that, okay, in the short run, there might be risks, but longer run, okay, there might be opportunities. But in fact, my questions to Subhashini, all right, are also is related to this. It's that the issues, right? The issues actually demands help, right? They demand services. So to what extent? So I'm thinking, inviting comments from all of you here regarding, what Hong Kong professional services can help with problem solving, right? So be it with corruption, anti-corruption efforts in Cambodia and Sri Lanka or other countries, right? I think we have corruption issues to some extent, okay, in all societies. But Hong Kong, I think, is relatively have done a lot, okay. And so whether you think our professional services can be of help, and also with some of the many governance and also financial service that you think that might help. Yeah, response. Okay, a few minutes only total. All right, so we have to move on to the next session.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, sorry, I think should I go? Or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay. Just quickly to tell, I think one of the things that Sri Lanka, you need to understand is Sri Lanka's political environment, which is critically important in government's decision to where to go for help and who to go for help. And that is why we are not even going to for help for the IMF as well. So the current government came into power on a very nationalist stance, saying that we will not be subservient to any foreign major powers or no to international agencies. We will have homegrown solutions. So they were supported by a lot of people who are quite skeptical and suspicious about foreign interventions. And as a result, Sri Lankans care about the origin of the companies very much than their competency and merit. So the public perception matters for the country. And it's not about government wanting to get expertise and advice, but from where they get expertise and advice and from which government, which country, generally tends to, of course, spill over to the public discussion and public domain. So that's something maybe the foreign professionals may need to think about. More multinational you are, and not particularly associated to a single country, maybe there is great acceptance. But the more you are affiliated to one of these major powers that Sri Lankans are generally suspicious of, and you may have risks, and the government may also be reluctant to engage. Even if you engage, if anything goes wrong, there'll be quite a lot of backlash. So it's good to be mindful of that.
Great.
Yes.
Understood. Yeah, Professor Ratani.
That's just it's very short. Yes, in terms of anti-corruption, I think unless the government of Cambodia has a will, they already have a will, and then they have action, but of course may not meet the expectation from the business or sector. So I think if Hong Kong have all these set up mechanism with some with the government or whatever, but from my point of view, I think that you professionalism in legal perspective can help to fight corruption with the not just only anti-corruption unit, but they may have the one, I think, MOUs working with the Cambodian Association of Bar and lay down the work activities, talk with them. And then also Cambodia is easy also to help because they want to change. And even they have been strengthened the laws, constitution. So if you don't have yet the MOU with anti-corruption unit, so there you can work on MOU and then lay down the work, what to do, and then help them because they want like for monitoring, evaluation, report, and then how to improve that because, and then to make something that why clean business from not just only the international company, not just from Hong Kong, anyway, even in Cambodia, clean business can help so much to build rapid economic development of a country, for instance. So I think so far, based on experience, we have MOU not enough, but lay down work, okay? So also can do with resource justice as well. So I think you work with the professional team and also with the government, lay down the work and continue. I think we'll have also the, this kind of anti-corruption in Cambodia. And because the government also determined to have this kind of thing, but this kind of thing need to have, multiple mechanism and multiple stakeholders to involve. So that is shortly, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thierry, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, Linda, if I can just also, I was going to touch upon something, but I can also answer the post by Chris that he just posted on the chat as well.
Yeah.
On how to address the public. Taking off from what Subhashini was saying, it's very important, particularly for long-term investors, that the investments have to be transparent, have to be open and transparent and done properly. And if it isn't, then later on you could have problems, and you shouldn't be surprised if you have problems. So my advice to you is that you should be very transparent in how you do your investment here in Sri Lanka or in any other country for that matter. And this then reflects on the public, because the public feels that you are a transparent investor. The public welcome investors. I mean, we're not a communist state or etc. where we don't want anyone coming into this country, and we are closed, like maybe like North Korea or something. But we welcome investors, but we welcome investors who are transparent and open about what they're trying to do. And of course, the investors are trying to improve the standard of living of people in the country. Like for example, Hutchison, we have worked with other multinationals in Sri Lanka to develop the telecom industry here in Sri Lanka, and today Sri Lanka has one of the lowest tariffs, mobile tariffs in the world, which is a benefit to the people. And we've been a very careful investor in Sri Lanka for 30 years. But very open and very transparent. So I think that's what if the public sees that you are a very transparent and open investor, they will welcome you and will support you.
Thank you. Well said. I think so. The message is actually very clear. We need to be process oriented, right? Be mindful of the people during the process, not only thinking that when those things are finished in due course, right? Then you would be able to benefit, and then you will appreciate. that
Yeah.
would be that they would, first of all, it would take a long period of time when those impact, you know, was felt, right? So we need to make people feel that during the process that that it is something good, and then to make people feel is actually enable people to co-own the thing, right? To co-own the thing. At least people should know about this, right?
It's a win-win for everybody.
Yes. And to return to, you know, what possible Hong Kong may do, okay, or may enhance this process, let me just respond quickly that we also have our fair share of a short-term problem, okay? We also have our, hopefully these are short-term, right? But I think if we look into the longer term, and well, Hong Kong is very famous for our internationalization, right? So we prime ourselves not only as a small city with several million people, and but we have a global orientation. Although we don't know enough, we always don't know enough. Okay, that's why we have to keep on learning and opening our minds. But I think that kind of openness has helped us in the past few decades to grow to where we are. And so we, as many of us here as well, you know, we all have our fair share of problems, and our problems are not too small. All right, I wouldn't want to belittle those problems, but I think we are managing it. We are managing it, and hopefully we would manage it not too badly, all right, in due course. And then hopefully then we hope that you remember Hong Kong, okay? So we are here, we can co-work together, and then not as in a collegial way, okay? In a collegial way, not that we know everything, no. As we said, okay, we are learning from Sri Lanka, learning from Myanmar, learning from Cambodia, how you deal with your little problems as well. So I think this is a mutual learning.
Professor, just one word only. Respond to the comment. I think the environment are the working. What I would like to say the same similar thing as well, that if, for businessmen, okay, please try to have you know, good business model of working. And then this good business model of working in a company will change the negative habit or behaviors of the workers in particular country, for example, like Cambodia. So I think this also can help the legal framework to anti-corruption and, you know, effective, you know, working as well. That to me. Thank you.
Well, I can't agree more. So that's why this is the focus of our next session of Roundtable, Ratana. Okay. So our next session, we have invited a few of our previous speakers, okay, who are from the private sector of Hong Kong, and who also has a very long experience and successful experience of overseas investment and overseas work. And so we have invited them here to again, okay, use only a couple of minutes, okay, to highlight, because they're, you know, of the jewel of the insights. I have invited them in particular, not only to talk about their success, but also how they met their challenges, okay, even some of the difficulties and failures, of course, all right. So I think that would be, because what they learn actually, I would say it's very important for all us to learn from them. Okay, so the first speaker is Anthony Lam. Anthony, CEO of Golden Resources. Anthony, the time is yours.
Thank you, Linda. Hi, everyone. It's an honor to be able to share some of our experience here with all of you. So as I've actually always say, if you invest into any other country, you have to respect the country. You have to respect the culture. You have to respect the language. You have to respect your staff. And of course, you have to respect the law. So we are guests, always we are the guests to the different countries. So I always, before you actually go there, or actually all our staff being sent over to our overseas offices, we have to make them to study about the culture of the particular country. So it's not that, oh, Hong Kong is the greatest. I mean, they're going to share with you. So they have been on earth for such a long time. So why is Hong Kong better? So we can bring in different opinions on different practices to these different countries, but we have to respect their culture as well. As I always say, learn the language. We've got offices in Malaysia, in Vietnam, in Thailand. So I always make a speech during the annual dinner. I always make a speech in the local language. It's difficult, but I don't really understand. But but I try. I give an effort. I don't think they understand fully what I said, but it's the effort. It's how we as management respect the people. And also, as a guest to the country, we should not and must not step on the gray line. So we have to respect the law, and then of course, whatever we always have the concept of give and take, and not take and give. So if you are in the society, especially in a developing country, so I would say part of even if you're losing money, we have to have a good CSR program. So the local will see that the company is actually also helping the local economy or the country, instead of just there's always a concept that if there are investments into these different countries, you are trying to get profit from those countries. So we have to have, I would say, the internal marketing as well as external marketing that you are actually doing differently. You are actually also helping the countries as well. So there are many areas as guests we can bring into the country, and always that we have a lot to learn. So for example, in Vietnam, the local culture is saying that the Lunar New Year is called Tet, the TET. I always reminded our staff that during the Lunar New Year, don't say it's Chinese New Year. It's not Chinese New Year. It is Tet to the Vietnamese, and it is a very, very important day for them. So we have to talk in their way there and respect them. So for example, talk to the locals and only don't talk to the expats and those who can only speak English. So we started off as in the manufacturing sector, and then we moved into machineries, the PPP project, logistic, shipping, and now also in retail. So I would say if you invest into the country and you know the people, there are lots of opportunities for you to get apart from your original business, and even build up your reputation. So look at the special talent in that country, and maybe you can expand into other markets as well. For example, the IT people from Vietnam and from Malaysia, they are helping with our Hong Kong headquarters to writing some of the programs. Also the FMCG's products from Thailand, they are actually, if you got a hand into that country and you know the local source, okay, this is a good opportunity for your company to grow if you're in that specific area. So, and I know that from Linda Tjia's presentation, there are lots of finance and accounting people in this group as well. So it's I would say, like, Hong Kong is a financial hub for China, and there are lots of opportunities for the finance and accounting people in this hubs. For example, how to handle the local accounting standards as compared to international accounting standard, especially in Hong Kong, the listed company in Hong Kong, the Hong Kong accounting standard as well. So you for example, in Vietnam or in Malaysia, you may not have these people in these countries to understand the Hong Kong accounting standard, even from the Big Four accounting firm. So you need the Hong Kong experts to help, because Hong Kong is a financial hub. You need to comply with the international accounting standard or Hong Kong accounting standard in order to report to the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. So these are the opportunities for the Hong Kong professionals to move into these developing Belt and Road countries and developing countries. So for the finance side, there are always lack of innovational solutions, I would say, to the finance side. For example, the currency hedge. There's still no currency hedge between Vietnam dong and Hong Kong dollar. So these are some of the things like project financing, cross-border guarantees, trade finance, the ECIC services, the export guarantee services. So some of the companies are actually having factories in the Belt and Road countries while the headquarters is in Hong Kong, but ECIC services do not extend to these countries. So Hong Kong is, I would say, we are a financial hubs, but we are not innovational enough. There's still a lot of things that we can develop in terms of products, in terms of services. So for the IT industry, we can utilize the talents in these countries. Vietnam, as I say, Malaysia, they have a very, very good education system on the IT. And China is now a lot more expensive. I mean, we've got developers writing our programs in Sichuan and also in Vietnam as well. So there are I would say countless opportunities. And of course, with the Made by Hong Kong studies by the Hong Kong Federation of Hong Kong Industries, the R&D can be actually done in Hong Kong because of the number of universities in Hong Kong, a lot of talents for the R&D in Hong Kong, but mass productions, and it's not only, we should not only focus on the Greater Bay Area, but also in the Belt and Road countries as well. So thank you. So I hope I have not exceeded my time. So that's my sharing. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Anthony. Wow, you gave us a lot of suggestions, okay, for the participants in the financial and IT and accounting fields, you know, to pick up. You know, don't worry if you cannot drop all the notes, okay? Because I think that this program would be available later. You can review it, okay? So, but thanks, Anthony. Okay, we'll come back to you. Okay, certainly. Yes. Well, may I now go to our next discussion in the panel? Katherine Chen. Yeah, Katherine, are you
Hi,
here?
good morning, Professor
Hi,
Linda.
good morning. Yes.
Good morning.
Yeah, Katherine, well, she has she's leading a group, okay? They have a long-term investment in Cambodia as well as other places, but maybe you would like to talk a bit more from your experience in Cambodia. Very enriching, right?
Sure, of course. Thank you, Professor Linda. So good morning, everyone. Let me introduce myself. I myself is the founder and executive director of the biggest Hong Kong development in Cambodia, which is called Urban Village and Factory in Phnom Penh. I'm also the executive director of GoFame Group. Of course, the development belongs to GoFame Group. Our group is actually the global top 5 manufacturer, sweaters manufacturer in the world. So if you see anything from Uniqlo made in Cambodia, they are all from ours, as well as those 80% from Zara, also Superdry, etc. brand. Our experience in Cambodia is actually, we have to talk about like almost 30 years ago, we went to Cambodia. And the reason why we went to Cambodia was because well, we had a factory in China, and we moved from Hong Kong to China before due to the history. Well, Hong Kong wages got more expensive, and we saw that China would be a better opportunity. So we went to China in the very early days, and we saw that the development in China would actually be similar to that in Hong Kong. So eventually people, they are not very willing to work in the manufacturing sector, and we had to move to other countries outside China. So we chose Cambodia 30 years ago, and the peak we had over 100,000 workers in Cambodia in our factory. So we own 9 factories in Cambodia. So the reason why we chose Cambodia, back then, of course, there's no Belt and Road initiative, but we chose Cambodia was that, first of all, we saw that the political situation in Cambodia was actually was getting better after the civil war. And now the Prime Minister in Cambodia has been there for 30 years. Hun Sen has been there for 30 years, which is very, very stable. And second of all, is also, of course, the distance between China or Hong Kong to Cambodia is only taking like 2.5 hours direct flight, which is even shorter than when you go to Thailand. Third of all is the currency problem. Cambodia is the country using US dollars as its functional currency. You know, like Hong Kong and US dollars, they are packed, so we worry less about the currency fluctuation. So we have already we can already get rid of this currency risk out of our mind. So these are the quite three main reasons why we are in Cambodia, and well, the other reasons are also that well, Cambodia, they also have a number of Chinese ancestors, Chinese faces, so they welcome Chinese. So they are not like anti-Chinese. So this is very important as well, especially in when we have large factories. We cannot stand we have protests, or we have work unions coming to us day by day. So now Cambodia is actually growing very well, despite the last 2 years of the pandemic. Actually, before that, Cambodia, among ASEAN, Cambodia is the only country that has a growth of 7% over 7% of growth in GDP over the last 10 years, which is actually very, very fast growth. So these indicators, we can see that the country is actually growing, and it has a lot of it is one of the members of the RCEP, and when you export to the European Union, plus even England has left. The UK has left the European Union. We can enjoy free duty. That means that it's zero tax. So all of these factors, they enhance the investment in the country. I think this the country has a very wise decisions. Like, they are very open. They are not just going to the China. They actually have a very high vaccination rate. Like, they have a very good relationship with China. China has donated a lot of vaccines, a lot of health kits to them, or during the pandemic. Actually, the vaccination rate is actually over 95% already in the country. So it's open. It's like Singapore right now. It's the top two. Like, the top is Singapore. The second one is Cambodia. Is during the pandemic, talking about the vaccination rate. It's also using US dollars. So it's not just like one-sided. Oh, I'm just very close to China, but it's also using US dollars, and has a very good relationship with Japan and Korea. They've just signed a free trade agreement with Korea as well. I think this is very important for a country, that they don't be so one-sided. They are not so political. They understand very well the position of their country. They are not like a huge country, of course, but they understand the position, and they play very well in the international field as well. So, well, it's a very short time. I realize that I only have my time is almost up. So feel free to ask me any questions if I can explain something more in details.
Okay, thank you, Katherine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katherine, for sharing with us. Okay, your company's strategic decisions of going to Cambodia, and your impression of your investment and the investment environment in Cambodia. I think that is useful. Well, so far, the two discussants so far they are in industries. Okay, of course, logistics, retail. All right. Katherine is also in property management, property development as well. And now we will go to two discussants. Okay, they are in quite different fields, right? From Derek Wong, you are in maritime service, in shipping management, yes, and also right, training of sailmen. So very important. Hong Kong is a maritime center, right? So yeah, the time is yours. Yeah, look forward to.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Professor Linda, for your invitation. So I'm Derek. I am a director of the Myanmar Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce, and also a director of Wealth Ocean Services. So Wealth Ocean Services is a Hong Kong company. We have a maritime background. We do ship management and other shipping services. In Myanmar, which we entered some 10 years ago, we primarily do the seafarer placement services. putting the Myanmar sailors on board foreign merchant cargo trading vessels. So speaking from my experience, I mean, going into a developing country like Myanmar as an experienced professional from a developed economy, I think it gives you a little bit of an edge, especially when you have the expertise that they lack. What is important, I think, to let yourself excel in such an environment is to be able to build actually a good local relationship there and think about the social engagement there, which helps in building trust and ultimately the performance. Especially for a country with a less developed ecosystem. Sometimes I think word of mouth or a level of trust with certain officials in the system really goes a long way. So I reckon that we need to, if you're going into a country, a developing economy like Myanmar, we need to be ready to accustom to the cultural standards there and get ready for cultural shock, really. And especially for Myanmar, it has over 130 ethnic groups, and an open mind will really help. In terms of investments, right now, everybody knows there's a big conflicts going on. But I just want to say that the risk and opportunities always coexist at the same time. And it doesn't cost much to keep an eye on the market early. Obviously, with the volatility right now, there's things like the exchange rate you need to worry about. Because locally, the Myanmar government is trying to promote or enforcing to some extent the use of the local currency, the Myanmar jets, over the US dollars. And obviously for foreign investors, when you are looking at your return, you always account them in terms of the USD. So that's something to think about. And also there's the issue with the money liquidity, as only a fixed amount of cash that you can withdraw each week from the banks. And right now, I've been hearing that the power supply is also a major concern. We've been hearing about 12-hour blackouts for some of the days. So, I mean, the World Bank has highlighted that this year, the Myanmar economy is going to be extremely weak. However, as much as it is in a depressed state right now, we can expect a rebound once the crisis can be resolved. I mean, of course, the question is when. But I say that, like, under normal circumstances, the Myanmar people are very optimistic and they're very willing to spend. So if you are looking for more information or business intelligence on the ground, I can suggest that you can join the Myanmar Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce, just to get our fellow members share our experiences and views on the ground. So that's all from me. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Derek. Well, just to remind our participants that, of course, Myanmar, okay, it's one of the places World Ocean Services has an investment and has done training for the seafarers. But also, World Ocean Services, your service actually extend to a lot of other places, right? As far as I know. So, and especially given the importance of Hong Kong as a maritime services center, and I think that is also our niche. So maybe Derek, you can think about it and share more with our participants later on. You know, what is your experience about your work regarding of training of seafarers, right? And seafarers from other countries. So what can Hong Kong offer? How can Hong Kong further develop this kind of service, this kinds of business, in order to support, in other maritime services and shipping and port services, which is growing a lot faster than Hong Kong in terms of the, just look at the throughput of the goods, right, and services.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
yeah.
We'll come back to you a bit later. So, we are turning to Nicholas Ho. Okay, Nicholas, he's also Nicholas is a award-winning accountant. Okay, so he's a partner in Ho and Partners, architects, engineers, and development consultants, and also he's a representative from one of our collaborating organizations, Hong Kong GCC. And Nicholas, you have a lot of experience working projects and investment and partnerships, right? With a lot of overseas jurisdictions, as well as mainland China, of course. So the time is yours. Nicholas, you need to unmute yourself. Nicholas, the time is yours. You have to unmute yourself. You haven't unmute yourself. Jeffrey, are you going? You need to do it. So you cannot do it? I think Jeffrey is working on it. Okay, okay. Well, I think.
Hi, sorry.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, okay.
Can you hear me?
That's good.
Fantastic. Thank you, Professor. Yeah, today I'm here speaking on behalf of HKGCC. I'm the co-convener of the Belt and Road Committee, and I'm also a professional, as Professor has mentioned. I'm an architect. We have offices around the world, and we've been doing Belt and Road projects for close to 7 years. And I think right now, as a professional, and from speaking on the Chamber Commerce hat, I think opening borders is definitely important, but it offers professionals an incredible opportunity to really think about how to transform digitally, to connect and conduct business in a new way, effectively and securely through digital means. Hong Kong remains today a very vibrant and agile economy because we have all the good ingredients: legal, political, talent pool, capital market, and on top of that, created the international connectivity based on international standards and practice, giving investors confidence in making projects feasible and bankable. And today I hear a lot about risk. I hear a lot about standards, and Hong Kong is the right place to do it because we have the social infrastructure, we have the experience, and we have the reputation to do that. Mitigating risk and structure the project in the right way to address these concerns and bring in the right resources and partners has always been one of Hong Kong's strengths. And as professionals, that's exactly what we've been doing in the past 30, 40 years, whether it's in China or in elsewhere. And going forward, I think as professional services providers in Hong Kong, we must pivot and change with climate. So CSR, ESG, and also climate change sets a new narrative for us to reposition ourselves to add value to projects and connect the role of BRI and also GBA is also sort of foundation, I would say, for Hong Kong professionals in the future. Bring in strong partnerships and mutually add value to all stakeholder interests. And on top of that, we have a new RCEP. RCEP can boost core and also peripheral trade from MSMEs and also multinationals, creating an inclusive and comprehensive approach. And therefore, I think as professional services, if I may, as a sum up, we must improve, we must focus on integrating traditional professional services with different trades and industry know-how, and focus on many new directions, let's say climate change, green initiatives, bio initiatives, in order for us to integrate upstream and downstream and stay resilient and also stay agile. And I think there are many presenters here today mentioned very interesting economies, opportunities going forward. But Hong Kong sits at a unique position to connect these opportunities and to make it feasible. And I think in the future, there's only global projects, whether we look at GBA or Belt and Road. I think we're looking at a new era where there is very different delineation between the two, because there will be Belt and Road projects with a strong GBA element. There will be GBA projects with a very strong BRI flavor. And I think for us, we have to stay agile, and we have to focus on inclusivity going forward. Maybe I'll end here. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Nicholas. I think your point about Hong Kong has the skills, especially professional services, right? The job of the professional services is actually from the various professions. Okay, those kinds of you know, those are different areas of knowledge and skills to solve certain types of problems, put it this way, right, or certain types of risk. And then you also said importantly how to integrate this different types of service, put it this way, right, or maybe different sectors, different professions. And then because real life problem are multidisciplinary, right? Real life problem doesn't segregate into, oh, this is a legal problem only, this is an engineering problem only, this is a climate problem only, but everything muddled together. So we need to pool different skills or maybe different teams together, right? Oh yeah, terrific. Okay, terrific. So maybe you can, I give you a question. Any difficulties when you are doing this? All right. So
yeah, thank you, Professor. I think there's definitely a lot of difficulties. Some of the solutions, I think the other speakers have mentioned, like, you know, embedding in local culture, find out more before getting into find out your own value add, before jumping into new markets, so on and so forth. So I think at the end of the day, the world is changing so fast. There are opportunities globally, and if we don't change, I always feel like we risk even more. So I would strongly encourage all professionals to go out there and experience it. And the opportunities, the channels, the trade agreements today is much more elaborate, inclusive, and developed than 30, 50 years ago. We started doing overseas businesses 30 years ago, so it's a huge difference. And I think because that threshold has dropped, and if professionals can and should transform digitally, that threshold would also drop to do business internationally. So I think, you know, with things changing, it's very difficult to just focus on one market if we want to grow sustainably. And I think nowadays, although there are a lot of block on multilateralism, but the opportunities are there. And I think a shining example that we can look at it is RCEP. You know, trade agreements usually do not include services or professional services. RCEP has a very inclusive and flexible system under their services bracket. And RCEP is also very different compared to any other trade agreement. It's huge, and it also cut down the sort of traditional noodle bowl model, which allows a more direct benefit to SMEs and MSMEs. So I think, yeah, I strongly encourage. I think the world is changing so fast. If we just stuck at one place, the future will be very grim.
Oh, terrific! I think we all need this upbeat, right? This upbeat orientation. Maybe we are facing some difficulties here or now, right? Then maybe we just turn around, okay, turn around a little bit, and then get some refreshment, and then life would be slightly better, right? Right. Okay. So I'm mindful of the constraints of time, but I'm just wondering whether Derek, you want anything to add to my questions earlier to you?
Sure. I can talk a bit more about how our company started our training center in Myanmar. So I think that also highlight one of Hong Kong's strength as an international maritime hub, because we actually learned of this opportunity to enter into Myanmar through one of our Japanese partners. You know, shipping industry is very international by nature. You just work with people around the world. So this Japanese partners has told us that there's this new regulation coming in from the International Maritime Organization that every country has to listen to. And Myanmar at that time has no capability in producing their training facilities that will enable the seafarers to get to be trained and then to get the certificates required by the upcoming IMO regulation. So at that time, they looked to us, and through our business connections, we know of several equipment suppliers. And so we were able to bring in those equipments and bring in our investment into Myanmar, help them set up the training centers, and facilitating these instructor training for the local instructors in places like Singapore and then have a school running and basically allow the Myanmar seafarer to join foreign cargo vessels. So usually in the developing countries, the government is not as efficient as the Hong Kong government per se. But let's say when they have something they really want, they can be very fast. So that's one thing I can say. And in terms of any opportunities for the Hong Kong maritime sector, Myanmar is, if you look at the geographic location on the map, you know, it's super important because it can allow the goods to bypass the Malacca Strait to go into China or Thailand alike. So, which is like well known around between the people around the region. So in terms of there maybe you can think about the warehousing or freight forwarding opportunities, and also some of the information to give you that as Japanese government has very heavy involvement in developing the Myanmar custom clearance, electronic custom clearance system, as well as the stock market. So if you have any Japanese business connections already, it will help you if you're looking to enter into a country like Myanmar or even Thailand, etc.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Derek. Very insightful information, okay, for us to mull over. Katherine, I actually have a question for you. I'm thinking, you know, because I know you'll have the property project actually is a very sustainability project, right? So,
Yes.
but your group started with a garment, right? And then now you are working on this huge sustainability project. So this kind of a migration from one field to another field, right? So any insights, anything you would like to share?
Yeah, actually, I would like to share why we did that. Because well, when we had that a huge manufacturing plant, of course, we purchased a lot of land ourselves, because our capital investment is actually very large in the manufacturing sector. We have to build all the electricity plants. We have all our machineries, etc. So well, eventually well, we purchased that, of course, over the years from 30 years ago. So as the country, they started to develop in the city center, well, it's normally the main part where a country would develop first. So the land is getting more expensive, first of all, and second of all, the wages, they're getting more expensive. For example, the minimum wage in Cambodia is around let's say $130 US dollars per month, but in the city center, the people there are actually earning around 500 US dollars to the managerial grade, maybe over 1,000 or 2,000, 3,000 US dollars on average. So it's getting harder to get the workers, they work in the manufacturing sector because it's more it involves more hard work, like a sun food dealer is harder. So we started to develop this development, which used to be a very huge factory as well, which had over 10,000 workers there. So it's also a landmark now. So we converted it into the biggest Southeast Asia creative hub in Asia along this project. So we have a residential and also a creative hub there. It is a bit like the PMQ in Hong Kong, but it's 20 times bigger than the PMQ in Hong Kong. We actually just hold the biggest mural festival in the world last month, actually 2 weeks ago, on our site as well. So this is the migration why we diversify our businesses into different fields, and of course there's a lot of demand in the housing sector as well, because well, Cambodian, they know that they can earn more in the city center. So a lot of them, they will come into the city and work, and they don't want to travel back and forth to their homes, and with the traffic jams, like they spending 2 or 3 hours in a road each day. So all of them, there's a trend that people, especially the young ones, now they live in condominiums. They don't live in the houses, the berets anymore. So they move into the city, they work, they earn, and their spending power is very high as well. When you go to Cambodia, you can see a lot of them, they are holding their iPhones. A lot of people, they ask me, oh, are Cambodians poor, very poor, they don't have money? And I said, oh, just go and see the city yourself. They can, because there are a lot of opportunities. It's like in an emerging market, a growing economy. So they spend the population is very young as well. Over 70%, they are under 35 years old. So they're very willing to spend. It's a bit like Hong Kong when it's developing before, like the 70s, 80s time before. So this is the trend, and why we also moved to the property development sector as well.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, understood now. Okay, it makes sense. Okay, so in other words, your company grows and migrates as the city, as the country develops, right? So that is very important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anthony, I am mindful of the time, but I really want to put the same questions that I put to Katherine to you, because you also has developed a very diverse portfolio, right? So,
it's actually, as I said, if you talk to the local, if you know the people, if you actually spend time and your effort and you understand the people over there, you've got a lot of different opportunities. I mean, as a country grows, they of course they will need a lot of new ideas or a lot of opportunities. So it's whether we are able to grab the opportunities or not. This is the issue. A lot of my staff who went down there, and then they opened their own coffee shops in their free time. So they enjoy the culture, they enjoy the people, enjoy having friends over there, and then the opportunities just come in. Especially like in the developed country, it is the opportunities is a lot harder to get. But in the developing countries, there's always, like as Katherine said, they need everything. They everything it needs to be. They now with the internet, they can see what's available outside. So what we have to do is to think of what in the particular country, local economy, what they lack of, and what's a successful story outside of that country or internationally, and then you just bring that into that particular country. So for us, we started from commodities, and then now we're in retail business, the convenience store business. Yet again, that was like 20 years ago when I was actually stationing there for 3 years. I was actually looking at the opportunities. What's is a successful case outside of for example, Vietnam, and what is not there in Vietnam. So I just brought that in, and then now we are the biggest convenience store chain in Vietnam.
Great. So in other words, the opportunity are there, but you have to know the place and know the people, right? So we heard what Anthony said, you stayed in Vietnam for 3 years, right? For 3 years in that early period, so that you gradually know the place and then notice opportunities. And in the meantime, I think you're not only identify the opportunities, but also you talk to the people, so you get those partners, right? That Nicholas talked about, right? So you need to get the partners and then integrate the services, right? Get the right kind of talent, and then get into the organization, right? So that in that we can do what our session 1 our discussions reminded us to do: develop good projects that would talk to the people, that the people would appreciate, because they have been a part of it from the very beginning, from the inception of the projects. Okay, excellent. Okay, I think excellent. So with that, let's move on to our session 3, right? So stay with us, okay? Don't leave us, okay? And then we would, because when we go to session 4, we will come together and see, what else we might need, okay, other than our own effort and hard work. Okay, the session 3. The session 3, it's a session we like to bridging the more state-led projects, which we often heard a lot, and of course they are happening, are very important in those in the developing countries we normally call the Belt and Road, right? So so these Belt and Road projects, very high profile, very important, usually takes a lot of time and a large amount of investment, and they are usually, because they are so important and large amount investment, so obviously usually the government play a larger role, okay, and the government you know, was assisted by state-owned enterprises to help. So but at the same time, state-owned enterprises would need the help of a lot of professional firms, okay, and other business firms who are in the private sector, right? Who are in the private sector to co-work together in executing those large state-led projects. So this session is if we want to focus on that, right? And so because this is what we read a lot on the news, on the head pages, right? Headline pages of the news report when we talk about the Belt and Road. So may I start with Chris? Okay, Chris is he's now in Hong Kong, but he used to spend a lot of time in overseas in various developing economies, and he's from one of the very important state-owned enterprise, Hong Kong branch in his branch in Hong Kong. Chris, the time is yours.
Thank you, Linda.
Yes.
I'm Chris Rao from China Harbour Hong Kong branch company. Actually, China Harbour is the son company of the CCC group, a mega construction enterprise, state-owned, owned by mainland China. So the works in Sri Lanka has been of our company has been started more than 20 years ago. Started from a very small port, Fisher port, something like that, and then right now become one of the major construction company in Sri Lanka. The Belt Road initiative bring our company to significantly increase our work volume during the last 10 years. I've been working in Sri Lanka residently in between 2005 and 2008. It is quite a good experience for me. And our company's sort of business is continue. And CCCC, our parent company, is not only involved in the kind of construction business, but also in an investments business. Hot City is one of the very significant projects. Yes, right now it's already the phase ones are already in sort of operation. That means that they're ready to develop for the other developer to start their kind of investment. The land is formed, the facilities, road, drainage, and that sort of also for the cities facilities is in place. So back to the topic, how the Hong Kong professional can involve in this big projects strategy or Belt Road initiative. I can say is at the beginning, the Belt Road initiative is a majority focused on the infrastructure. Sri Lanka is such a wonderful geographical country that can fit into the strategy of a Belt Road, the Maritime Seal Road, which is located in the south part of the Indian Ocean. Almost 60% of the vessels travel through the route in front of Sri Lanka. That means the port web business and the port and it's very, big room for development. And also the seal road, maritime seal is so, major sort of element of the China government's strategy. So that's why the kind of the supporting from China government has been started around 10 years or more than 10 years ago, with the Hambantota port being built, and also the extension of Colombo port. The private sector in Hong Kong, I mean the private company in Hong Kong, since the beginning of this project, the involvement starts from some sort of design still professional service. Since Lanka is such a country which is, follow the standard of specification of British standard. So this is not quite, the China design system is not quite familiar. So that we, Hong Kong branch company, bring the design system from Hong Kong or even from UK to support this. This is the starting of this. And during my staying in Sri Lanka, I can also find that this some sort of what we call the financial consultant also already located there, which can help. Even I can bring an example. We try to form a financial model of design, build, and transfer highways project. We need to get the service from the consultant to work out a model to see whether the IRR is have a satisfactory return. So that I can see this is I open this name. It is the Pricewaterhouse we employed for this special project that I can see. And also, we are already put some some legal service contract consultant from Hong Kong to prepare some sort of contract document for the design build project, and in the beginning of the negotiation with the government. So all this professional service that we're using our sort of pitching mode to bring some international company even, or local Hong Kong company to involve in this sort of projects, which was initiated from the Belt Road strategy. So I think this is my experience to share with all of us. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, thanks for sharing with us what China Harbor Engineering your experience, especially actually Hong Kong branch, because Hong Kong branch already is making use of the existing expertise, right? The talent in Hong Kong. So already the participation of Hong Kong branch in this Belt and Road projects, which normally would be taken care of mostly by the headquarters in Beijing, right? But Hong Kong, but your company in this case actually play a very large role. I mean, the Hong Kong branch company also play a large role. So you in the process, you also engage with other, private sector law firms or accounting firms, as you mentioned, right, in the various tasks. Okay, excellent. So I think what follows is that we will move to our other discussions. Okay, the other discussions are mostly from various professional sectors. Okay, so we'll listen to them. First of all, we have Ms. Janice Chu, okay, from the legal sector. So Janice is a principal of a major law firm, okay, which has a branch in Hong Kong and also in Kuala Lumpur. And so you have a lots of hands-on experience, and how to work with these various clients doing investment projects, right? Very complex investment projects. So yeah, time is yours.
Thank you, CityU, for organizing this call.
Hello, Janice. You may have to speak up a little bit or closer to your mic because your volume is a bit low now. Thank you.
Okay. So can you hear me right now?
A while ago is better. Now it's not as good. So, well.
Okay. So
yeah, that's good. Yeah, just a minute.
Okay. So as mentioned by Professor Linda Lee, so all ASEAN countries are very important. So ASEAN is also an important participant in the development of the Belt and Road Initiative. And state-owned enterprises are the main force of Belt and Road project in ASEAN. So we can see there are many competitive state-owned enterprises have engaged in those projects in the forms of engineering, contracting, equity investment, and joint venture. So very for private enterprises, their operation mode in Belt and Roads project in ASEAN countries, mainly you can see it includes project contracting, labor corporations, and collective investment through establishing, like, for example, industrial parks. So I also agree with one of the discussants just now, Anthony Lam. So culture is very important as different countries have their own culture, because me, myself, I came from Malaysia and I stayed in Hong Kong for many years and I know the culture of both countries, even though I can speak Cantonese. But in terms of legal system, 4 out of 10 ASEAN countries are based on common law. Malaysia is common law, Hong Kong is common law, 3 on civil law, and another 3 are hybrids of both common and civil law. So in terms of if, let's say, we have a project together, it will be quite challenging for the stakeholder to navigate different legal and regulatory systems, especially when disputes and conflict arise. So sometimes we do have clients coming to us and hoping that we could assist them and connect them with the right partners for setting up in different jurisdictions. For instance, if let's say there are Hong Kong business, they would like to set up in Malaysia because they understand, even though it's common law, maybe there are different rules and regulations. So I can share with you a case study for our project last year. So we also saw and advised on a joint venture between 2 subsidiaries of listed companies in Hong Kong and also in Malaysia for logistic industry. So we worked with a Malaysian law firm to review and advise on the legal agreements and raise areas of legal concerns for the company after the joint venture was set up. So as Belt and Road project, if you have project, that's me, you have contract to sign, at the same time, there will be dispute also. So for project participants, performing through thorough due diligence are very, very important. So I always advise my client that you need to do due diligence before you go into that particular business joint venture. So for instance, like what Professor Linda Lee just mentions, you might need to know your clients and also background research on the state-owned enterprises, because it's important in regions where bribery, corruptions, or other business ethics issues are concerned, because they might have different rules and regulations. So another major challenge which I can see right now is the COVID-19 pandemic. So different countries may have different rules for controlling the pandemic. So the current COVID pandemic represents a really severe threat to globalizations, and also is destabilizing for the entire international trade system that Belt and Road Initiative is predicated on. So I would say cross-border legal expertise may actually higher demand in the future due to likely critical impact on projects. So that's all for my insight today.
Excellent, Janice. Okay. Well, in fact, I think law, the legal side, even though a while ago we talked about integration of services, right? But obviously each discipline would have its own niche, and law is always the must-have, right? Must-have portion and in all projects. You mentioned that so your clients, you have you worked with some state-owned projects or slated projects? Some
No.
of the clients?
Be public listed, like if they have a joint venture or they have a venture in the particular countries.
Yeah, certainly. So those are, but if those projects are kind of less commercial oriented, for instance, those are infrastructure projects like water dams or highways.
Logistic.
Logistics, yeah.
The I would say the logistic industry are booming, especially right now in lockdown. Some countries and they couldn't go out. Logistic is one of the major industry in South Asian countries as well.
Okay, so some of our clients are engaged in logistics industry, right? Services. All right. Okay, good. All right, so we'll come back to you. See, we see whether we have more questions from the participants. Okay. So we have the next discussion from currently based in Cambodia, Larry. Larry, are you here?
Yes, yeah. Linda, I'm here.
Yes. Well, so Larry is a professional accountant by training, and he has diverse experience in various places. Before he is now based in Cambodia, so he's been in Canada, Hong Kong, and Cambodia, and what else? In other places?
Yeah, China as well.
China, okay, mainland China, yes, definitely, yes. So a while ago we heard some discussions from Cambodia as well. We talk a bit about, of course, investment climate and also anti-corruption, right? And of course, COVID-19. But I'm glad that Cambodia actually is stunning pretty well now, right? I'm pleased to know that. So maybe the time is yours, okay, to share with us in particular your experience, how from the professional firm's perspective, helping with those bigger projects, okay, of your clients. Yes, thank you.
Yes, hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Larry. Thank you for your introduction, Linda. Actually, I came back to Cambodia in 2009, so I've been here for more than 13 years. So I could see that there's a lot of growth going here in Cambodia, particularly the needs of the professional services, because it helps you to protect your assets and maximize your profits. And being compliant and contributions to the local market is also the key for the Belt and Road investment. From my experience, I would say the professional service like the tax service, the licensing service, auditing service, constructions, design, financial services, insurance, e-commerce are in high demand now in Cambodia. And this is what also the Hong Kong professions can provide to Cambodia as well. I've been working with several projects with the state-owned enterprise in Cambodia. And I could understand that on compliance issues, they also require our people in local to explain to them, because there's different way to work with the government, also different way for them to understand. However, they also have various subcontract projects, which they also need help here in Cambodia. So for our professional firms, what we are doing here is to help to building a bridge between the subcontractors, also the state-owned enterprise, and also from the government aspect, to assist them, to help them to provide our advices and to help them to link together. A lot of times they also require to ask questions like, oh, how about in Hong Kong? How about in China? How about in Cambodia? So this kind of things that are more in high demand right now in Cambodia. On the other hand, Professor Ratana also mentioned earlier that there's a various investment incentives provided to foreign investors in Hong Kong. And what we are also helping is, we also understand the Hong Kong government also providing various incentives like that fund for company to invest in Southeast Asia, like Cambodian as well. So we are also assisting our clients on this aspect as well. I just want to keep my presentation short. So if you have any questions, please just drop in the group. Thank you so much.
Great, thanks, Larry. Okay, so the message is the professional services in your sector, accounting firm, consulting, right, are helping the partnering, right, helping people to reach out, right, to know more other suppliers or other actors, right, the demands. I think that's a major part, right? So, yes. So linking, you know, or helping with background research, is it also that is also part of it? That could be, right? And and also when some clients already are interested, right? Are interested in pursuing some overseas investment, and then there is some available schemes from governments, right, whether Hong Kong or Cambodia or elsewhere, right? So depending where you are, right? So a professional services firm would be helping them. Yeah. So yes, definitely. And then okay. So as Larry said, okay, he welcomed questions. Okay, so questions from the participants. All right, Larry, we'll come back to you. Okay.
Yes,
so let's now go to our next discussion. From the legal sector, okay, and now we have CM Chen with us. CM, hello, good morning, good afternoon now, all right. So
good
CM
afternoon.
is, yes, CM is our president of the Law Society of Hong Kong, all right. So good to see you, all right. It's our first meeting, I think. First of all, I thank you because the Law Society of Hong Kong is one of our collaborators. Okay, thank you for your support. As you see, you know, we have in this panel we have also Janice Chu, who is from the legal profession as well. So you are speaking from the perspective of the Law Society of Hong Kong. Okay, you know, we appreciate your insights. Okay, how do you think Hong Kong's law firms can help prospective investors going to overseas market? In particular, what do you think are the experience of your clients? I mean, especially of the members, okay, of your members, in assisting with China's state-led projects, which Chris Lau just explained to us. Okay.
Thank you, Professor. Just a very quick introduction. The Law Society of Hong Kong is the governing body of all the solicitors and law firms in Hong Kong. So we are a licensing body. Basically, you want to practice in Hong Kong, you need to register with us. But at the same time, the Law Society is also the trade union in a way. So we actually look for interest for our members, solicitors, and law firms. We roughly had 12,000 solicitors in Hong Kong nowadays, roughly 914 law firms in Hong Kong. And there are also roughly 1,500 foreign lawyers. They are not Hong Kong lawyers, they are overseas lawyers, but working in Hong Kong. So that means Hong Kong is quite a very attractive sort of legal hub, and which echoes with the 14th five-year national plan of the central government, want to make Hong Kong a Asian Pacific legal and dispute resolution hub, and also intellectual property trading center. And all these I have in mind wearing my hat as the president. So I need to push forward all these initiatives. And of course, One Belt and Road. The Belt and Road initiative is also a very important initiative that the Law Society is working on very hard. We have a very specific committee to work on promoting legal services, Hong Kong legal services in the Belt and Road countries. Like Janice said, Hong Kong is the only common law jurisdiction within the whole of China. And also because English and Chinese are the official languages in Hong Kong. That makes us very, very competitive. Hong Kong is part of China, yet we are a common law jurisdiction under the one country, two systems, a special administrative region. So this is a very unique position, very advantageous for us to go out. So when we talk about Belt and Road country, we're talking about outbound investments from China, whether it's state-owned enterprises or private enterprises. But like Professor said, mostly state-owned enterprises nowadays, in the majority. So as a Hong Kong lawyer with a Chinese background, we are actually more capable of advising whether it's overseas clients, Belt and Road clients, or mainland clients. For example, the state-owned enterprises, they need to go through a lot of red tapes, shall I put it, very unique types of procedures, approval before they can go out to invest. For example, approval from the National Development Reform Committee, Forex, a very complex foreign exchange control in China. So all these, as a Hong Kong lawyer, we can definitely help. Before I end, because I have limited time, I should also mention a new initiative started 2 years ago, announced by the central government. It's called the Greater Bay Area Lawyers Exam. So what happened was the central government allowed Hong Kong, and including Macau, lawyers, after passing a specialized exam, we can actually practice in the Greater Bay Area, the 9 cities in Guangdong province. This is actually a very important breakthrough. So apart from being a common law lawyer, we are also a qualified PRC lawyer. So I talked about the very complicated internal regulatory regime in China. So with a Hong Kong lawyer also qualified in China, we can act as a one-stop shop for mainland Chinese clients going out into the Belt and Road countries, which, like Janice said, many of them, over 20 of them, the 66 Belt and Road countries, used to be common law jurisdictions. That's actually make us very, very competitive. And the first batch of Greater Bay Area lawyers, the license will be granted in the next few months. So we really look forward to it. I'm going to stop it here, but I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, CM. Okay. Well, yes. Let us see our wait for some questions from participants. But in the meantime, I do have a quick question for you. Okay. I'm glad to hear about the GBA a plan that is that our Hong Kong lawyers will be able to practice in GBA. Okay, after some procedures still, of course. Was that would enhance our ability to work with the Chinese state-owned firms, right, who are the major players in these large investment projects in the Belt and Road. But on the other hand, some of our previous sessions, especially from the overseas jurisdictions, the Belt and Road countries, from the perspective, okay, they were thinking how Hong Kong can help better, because there is a very complex situation in these overseas communities. Okay, sometimes it's a perception issues, sometimes it's historical issues, right? So now Hong Kong lawyers are actually would have a bigger chance of working with our state-owned enterprises. But how about how are we going to improve our reception in the overseas market? Because if we cannot do that, then the Chinese state-owned enterprises would not see much advantage of engaging with our lawyers, right?
Absolutely, Professor. This is actually one of my major objectives as the president of the Law Society. Try to go out to the international community and to tell them that we have a robust judiciary, a very independent judiciary, and our legal system is sound and robust. I think this is so important because, like you said, people read the news and they have a perception what's going on in Hong Kong. To be honest, the news in the past few years not exactly very positive for Hong Kong. So that's actually one of my major roles, to participate seminars like this, especially with international audience. I actually said in my speech in the opening of the legal year 2 months ago, we have a very unique system in Hong Kong that our Court of Final Appeal, we have overseas judges. We actually, under the Basic Law, our constitutional document, we allowed to invite prominent overseas judges to sit on our highest court. We now have 14 overseas judges, including the chairman of the UK Supreme Court and the deputy chairman as well. So this is actually a showcase to tell the international community that the judges themselves, they have confidence in Hong Kong's judiciary. Otherwise, they won't be staying. That's one way to tell them. But there are a lot of different surveys. For example, seat of arbitration. If you ask international investors, if you have a cross-border dispute, where do you want to have your dispute resolved? More often than not, Hong Kong come up with the top three. Always London, New York, Singapore, Hong Kong. So it's still the case. It's still a very popular choice of arbitration seat. But I wouldn't be complacent. I do need to do more to maintain our competitiveness and to go out and tell the international community more. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. So yes, so CMU would be saying more of this, right? Because really to rescue the confidence is very important, right? Okay, thank you. The session, okay, we'll come back. We'll stay with us, okay, CM, all right? And now we come to our last but not the least, okay, very important discussion in our in this session 3. Alan Wong is the Chief Executive, Professor Alan Wong is the Chief Executive Greater China in our CMA Certified Management Institute of Australia, Association of Australia in Hong Kong. Alan, are you here?
Yes.
Yes. Hello. Thank you, Alan. Yeah. So I'm very grateful to CMA Australia because they have been very supportive and with this program of activities and of course in fact among the participants quite a good share it come from the members who are from management and also financing and accounting fields. So thanks, Alan, okay, for your support. So the time is yours to share with us your insights and your expectations that how Hong Kong professionals, many of them are your members, right? How they can help more with the aspirations in the overseas jurisdictions.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Just let me introduce myself and also my organization as well. For the CMA Australia, we are not training accountants. We're training all kind of senior executive. Now they are making a lot of the strategic decisions for their company. In fact, for last few years, we have more than 4,500 members amongst more than 51 committees. Then we are glad we have 3 distinguished chairmen Dr. Anthony Wu as our chairman for China, and also another chairman is for Josh Lam for our ASEAN country, and also the local chairman is Dominic Chen, who is the CFO of the Cheng Kung Infrastructure and also executive director of the Hong Kong Electric. Okay, I believe that before we talking about the business, we have to find out what kind of scale of our business. For example, in China now, everyone having a new slogan. In fact, what kind of a new definition of this SME is talking about for your company size have more than 100 billion Hong Kong dollars, will be classified as a SME only. And it's talking about the less than 10 billion, they will talking about they clarify as a micro SME. In that case, level which is without any 10 billion, and they will out of the box. And that's why since the reasons why I'm talking about this kind of definition. If we're talking about the large scale of the business, I believe just like the Hutchison and also even Anthony, and I believe they will deal with the government directly. In that case, they have their own channel, they have own of the resources as well. But when we're talking about as a professional, and I believe we are not only helping our members to how to deal with the business nowadays. We're talking about in the macro view how they deal with the world changing. Yeah, because
I think we might have some technical problems with Alan, so let us fix it a bit, okay? So in the meantime, see whether we have some questions from the participants. If you have any questions, please send it in the chat box. you know, this is that's why, you know, technology is important, but we always have surprises. Okay. Right. Is Alan coming back? Right.
Can bring an item for discussion, Linda.
Yes. Yes.
Professional service. I would say this is Hong Kong can contribute on some PR service. I read from the beginning of the session one that the public want the more transparent of the projects, structures, and some business development from mainland China. But unfortunately, the culture is different. In mainland China, they always say something can negotiate with the government, settled, and then go forward to speed.
Yes, G2G. They want to G2G.
But in Hong Kong, it's quite different. We are familiar with some lobby with the non-government organization. This brings us some good experience. In Sri Lanka, they also quite some sort of public organization, like the village or even the council have their some kind of representative that need more sort of knowing.
Hello, can you hear me now?
So that's why I'm saying that the PR sector in Hong Kong professionals still have a way to contribute. So
yes,
back to
yes,
the main speaker.
Yeah, certainly. I think of the PR, I mean, the public relations or community engagement, all right, certainly can come in. Okay, not, but I'm just wondering, you know.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Alan, yes.
Yeah, sorry, I believe like some kind of technical problem.
Yes.
If you don't mind, I just make a short presentation again. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. As I say, like for the CMA, we're not accountants. We train all kind of senior executives. Now they making a decision for the company as well, and we are glad like we have 4,500 members, and also I believe like in order to cut it short. My recommendation for this type of the new business activities, like what we have to do from the old models to shift to the new models. What kind of the new models? Like we have to focus on to our members and also for our client and also for the government as well. Where we have to deal with a major in the title of the green finance. And also to what we call the ESG, and especially the carbon nationality as well. Since I also carry the title for the UNESCO as well, we are promoting those 17 SDG goals as well. But like before we go into the business, like we have to find out what kind of scale of our business like. For example, like in mainland China, now they clarify like as an SME is like the company have the value of the 100 billion as an SME, and whoever which is less than 10 billion, they classify as a micro SME only. And that's why like whoever, just like our platform here, we have a Hassan, we also have an Anthony as well. And I believe like for this kind of larger scale of the company, they have their own channel. With the local government and also with their own people as well. In that case, like I believe like in order to make this kind of the what we call the sustainability development, and basically we have to focus on those 4 items from the UNESCO to those SDGs, just like number 4 as education. That's why like we're glad like we has been invited to attend this kind of symposium as well. And the number 8 and also number 9, and number 8 is covered by the economics growth, and for the number 9 is talking about industrial and innovation and infrastructure as well. And for the number 13 and number 17 is the climate change, and also what we call the partnership for the goals as well. And that's why like for this kind of platform, like I believe like this is better for our future. Like probably CityU can be taken as a real model or even though a major role as the kind of the pioneer to provide further continuity as a consulting services as well. In that case, like since we have so many speaker or distinguished guests from different kind of sector, then also we provide much more in the long run view for the major development as well. And also and I believe the talk about the investment, before we has been shifted from the old model to the new model. And also we have to focus on some of the new item, which is what we should focus on around the world nowadays. What we call the Bitcoin, obviously everybody they are looking about the new currency model as well, and also the new concept, the NFT, and also now we are not talking about the IPO, we are talking about the SPAC. And also for this kind of the large scale of the investment is basically is for some of the new development country can be looking into that as well. And I believe and also the one final point is whenever we deal with the local company or even the client, now we shift to talking about the right person. Yeah, in the reasons why I talk about in order to talk to the right person, we'd rather to talk to their own office. What means by the new concept of the office is what we call the family office. Yeah, when we deal with their family office, and I believe you can cover all kind of the range of the useful resources for any kind of development at the same time. And that's why for example, the legal, of course, the accounting, also the business development as well. And that's why I believe this is one of my good comments, the trust system is one of the major conclusion for this kind of the new impact. And for example, for talking about Myanmar on the 2016, we are glad I'm one of the candidate also to went to one of the delegation with the two former secretary of the Justice and also Elsie Learn and also Frank Ma to Myanmar as well. And also we also have a lot of the members from the different kind of Chamber of Commerce. And I believe this type of the relationship among us will be one of the major crucial for any kind of development as well.
Thank you, Alan. I think yes. Well, I think I'm mindful of the time. Okay, we still have one more session for the public policy, but I do like to have come back to the question that Chris raised, because Chris raised about the because we used to talk about professional services. We mentioned management, right? Accounting, finance, legal, right? So these are the because this has been well-established professional services. But obviously, of course, architecture, right, and engineering, right, so all these are very important. But as we all know, okay, governance actually pull things together, right? Because when we talk about overseas investment, we are bridging a different political system, different social system, different culture, right? And then how to manage all this, right? Obviously, the government has to play a major role, and we are talking about governments, right? We have so many governments, right? And then we also have to deal with, of course, the market, right? The people, our workforce, right? So our supply chain, my goodness, okay, so many actors. So, oh, I'm got a headache, right? So actually, how to manage everything well is actually an art. As well as a science of governance. So in our first session, our Belt and Road discussions, okay, they really emphasize the need of, co-working with our Belt and Road countries and take into account of the needs and perspective. And that point is also very much emphasized by our discussions in session 2, okay, with the practices, with the good practices. So I think that brings to, the public relations, okay, maybe is actually only part of it, right? So I think this is actually a very important part. But in order to do that well, the governance well, we not only need the media, for instance, media management, okay, people, right? The NGOs, right, the public relations as a professions, but I think we do need what one of us discussant, Nicholas Ho, mentioned, the integration of services. So in other words, those financing, accounting, in your advisory role, right, legal, right, you're advising your clients about the legal risk, right, or the parameters, do also mindful of the broader ramifications. those messages are very important. So all of us need to pull together and reach out to the other side, because otherwise there will be no person called that I am the clue, right? There's no person so called that I am the clue, right? So everybody needs to be a bit of the clue in order to do this integration and partnering, I think. Yes, I think, yeah. And also Anthony raised some questions in the chat box. I wonder whether any of you here, especially those who are from the accounting field, have anything to add on that? Oh, so Phyllis, give a reply in the chat box. Okay, so Phyllis, you want to add orally a bit? Yeah, very briefly, maybe.
Okay, my question is whether it's the difference raised by Anthony is due to because of the frequent changes in accounting standard, or because different auditors have different interpretation of the accounting standard, so that the result will be different, or because what is the major reason for the difference?
Oh, hi, Phyllis. What I was actually talking about is that there are like a lot of interpretations different, even with the big four companies, which is like international. So that's it's a good opportunity for like Hong Kong, because there a lot of these codes already have offices or factories or facilities in ASEAN countries or other Belt and Road countries. So there will be like before Hong Kong used to have like US experts or UK experts, US law experts, UK law experts, but somehow Hong Kong can now provide, because Hong Kong as a financial hub, a lot of the stock exchange is going to move out of not only to Hong Kong and China, but also to ASEAN and other along the Belt and Road countries as well. So there are a lot of opportunities for the professionals in Hong Kong, like an attachment or something with their firms or with other firms in ASEAN, like something maybe probably CityU can recommend to the government after the pandemic, maybe set up some kind of SEPA arrangement with the Hong Kong professionals or with ASEAN countries. So this will be a good step for Hong Kong to move out, for the professionals to move out into the ASEAN countries first. Like the impairment is what we have so much problem with it. The calculation of the impairment, they don't agree with each other, and then it's getting so complicated. And I'm sorry, don't let me speak on this.
Agree. Because, because the accounting standard are getting more and more complicated. Yes.
Hi, if you don't mind, like just reply to the question of Anthony. Yeah, this is the reasons why we set up a committee of the foreign affairs. Yeah, because like as I say, like we consolidate every professional at once in the same spot, and that's why like whenever since we have the office at Malaysia, and also we have partnership with the one of the major accounting firm in Singapore as well, and whenever any kind of member or any kind of the question has been raised, then we will put it in the committee of foreign affairs to reply. And also since like we are not talking about accounting, in talking about we have all kind of the, for example, like we have the bankers, just like the COO of the HSBC. And also some of the other professional like collaboration, the Big Four. We also have a lot of Big Four senior partner here as well, and that's why there also even the government officials, such like the investment director from Australia as well, and that's why we consolidate everything all at once, and also to find out what kind of the services can be provided to our members, also to the outsider as well. In that case, that will be also crucial for us to learn something new. Just like Janice also mentioned about the culture is very important, and that's why, except for example, like when we deal with the Chinese New Year in Hong Kong, we're also having another nice dishes called lo hei. That means like as I say, like we all have all kind of the different kind of the people from some other ASEAN country can also provide additional service as well.
I think another question is just in the earlier part is that Retina talk about that Cambodia welcoming the education business. So I wonder whether they are focusing on those professional training, or they are more focusing on those general education such as the university training.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. Yes. Yes. Cambodia have two, let's say, two main systems. One as a university general education, general degrees, but another one is vocational training. And some few universities, they have both vocational and professional degree programs, and mostly in generals like liberal arts, let's say. So I think is now they try to cooperate between liberal art and professional degree program together based on the last 20 years. So they try to combine between how much theory and how much implementations, and also in the work field. So that is a recent move, but because of COVID-19, so they got stuck with the online training. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, mindful of the time, I think we need to move on. But actually, the discussion a while ago already is moving to that direction, right? That the suggestion that whether we should have a CIPA-like arrangement with Asian to facilitate our professional services, participating more in this overseas market, in the Asian market. So I think this is, I'm sure that our discussants in the session 4 already heard about it. So I'm going to invite them to now come in, okay? So, and then also to comment on this suggestions right away. So we have we are very happy and to have two distinguished discussants joining us from the public sector. So we have Katherine Chen, who is the General Manager for Innopreneur and Future Skills of the Hong Kong Productivity Council. They have been, doing a lot of very important innovative initiatives, all right, to help our business and young people and SMEs, okay, to develop capacity, and also including, developing overseas. And then we would also have a TDC in a minute. So Katherine, your time first. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be joining this session today. Just first of all, a bit of an introduction about what the Hong Kong Productivity Council is. So we are a statutory body of Hong Kong and has always been a partner of local industries and enterprises by offering comprehensive, innovative, and technology solutions, fund matching consultancy services, talent development programs, as well as special relief measures for the SMEs to tackle business challenges and open up business opportunities locally and in the GBA and ASEAN regions. And actually, in Hong Kong, 98% of the companies here are SMEs. So we are really serving the bulk of these companies. So we have an SME reach out team, which is also funded by the Trade and Industry Department, and they support SMEs through funding advisory services. So we provide one-on-one consultations to help SMEs to identify the right funding schemes and answer questions relating to their applications. There are actually over 40 funding schemes administered by the Hong Kong government for SMEs. And among them, the SME reach out team provides form reviewing services to the 4 most popular funding schemes. So they are the dedicated fund on branding, upgrading, and domestic sales, which is called the BUD, Export Marketing Fund, EMF, Technology Voucher Program, TVP, and Enterprise Support Scheme, ESS. And concerning support to the local companies in doing business overseas, the 2 funding schemes that are more relevant would be the BUD Fund, the BUD Fund, which enhances enterprise competitiveness and facilitate their business development through developing their brands, upgrade, and business expansion in the mainland and overseas. The funding is on one-to-one matching basis, And each company will have up to a maximum of Hong Kong dollar $6 million. And each application is up to 1 million Hong Kong dollars. And also the EMF fund, which is the export marketing fund. The export marketing fund encourages SMEs to expand their markets outside of Hong Kong through participating in export promotion activities, such as trade shows or other marketing activities overseas. And the funding is up to 800,000 per company, and each application is up to 100,000 per application. So as I said, we mainly focus on the support of local companies, whether they are big or small. So you may also look up to our services from the HKPC website, or simply Google search SME Reach Out or Entrepreneur Network to learn more. So that's all of my presentation for now.
Yeah, thank you, Karen.
Questions.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Karen. I think the questions will be coming in, okay? So let us give the participants some time. So in the meantime, let us move to Billy Wong, of who is Deputy Director of Research at the Hong Kong Trade Development Council. Hi, Billy.
Hello, everybody. This is Billy.
Yes.
Well, talking about the Belt and Road, well, personally, I think Belt and Road is, to me, is another round of globalization and another round of Chinese companies going out to the rest of the world. So if you look at that, I think Hong Kong can definitely play a very important role. Hong Kong has always been a gateway for bridging up China and the rest of the world. So if this is another round of globalization, either mainland companies going out or overseas companies entering into this part of the region, so Hong Kong will definitely, as an international business hub, will have a very important role to play. Trade Development Council, as the name suggests, we promote trade not just in terms of products, but also trade in professional services. And also, we also take up the role to promote Hong Kong as an international business hub. In that sense, we want to promote Hong Kong as a place to do business because we have a good business connectivity, we have good financial services, as well as needed professional services to facilitate all those international transactions in terms of trade, as well as investment flows. So talking about what TDC can help in this way. I'm from the research department, so let me start with the research work. We provide market intelligence in simple terms. Market intelligence include market information. If you look at the Belt and Road countries as a market, how you can tap into those markets. Of course, we prioritize those markets. Over the Belt and Road, there are so many potential markets. Our view for the last 3 or 4 years, I think the ASEAN region will definitely be of higher priority. So we provide a lot more information on that. Not just the market, but also a place, a destination for relocation. A lot of manufacturers, both Hong Kong manufacturers and mainland manufacturers, they are extending the supply chains over the years. So looking at suitable place in the ASEAN region or in the Asia Pacific region as a relocation hub, destination would be another area we want to provide information. We also want to promote Hong Kong as Hong Kong's advantage as a place for doing international business. So we do a lot of case studies illustrating what functions, what roles Hong Kong can play. We also even conduct large-scale surveys. Say, for example, last year we conducted a survey among GBA mainland companies, how they see Hong Kong as a business hub, as a gateway for them to go out to the rest of the world also. So that is how to illustrate Hong Kong's advantages. TDC as a whole, also we organize different study missions to Belt and Road countries, of course, before the pandemic. We organize study missions in terms of looking at market. The objective is to build up connectivities between different partners. Okay, not just as the market, but as I mentioned, as a relocation destination. But also, we also want to, particularly under Belt and Road, we see infrastructure projects maybe something very important. Without infrastructure connectivity, it's difficult to have other kinds of connectivities. So infrastructures, how we build up, those professional service provider in that related area with the investment projects or the project owners. That is another area CityU is doing also. We also try a very special format of outgoing mission. Is what we call the Mainland Hong Kong Joint Investment Partnership Mission. That is maybe mainland investors, they want to find investment opportunities in overseas, that we can join up with Hong Kong's professional service provider in a team, to go out for a study missions, so that we can, network them out, not just looking at the potential investment projects, but also partnering them up in, doing in the investment process. We also have a very flagship anchor, what we call this Belt and Road Summit every year. That is a very major platform in building up business connectivities. Last year we have online, Belt and Road Summit because of the pandemic. We have more than 19,000 viewers from different countries, over 80 countries and regions joining our Belt and Road Summit. This is a platform where, investment projects, professional service provider, investors, they can meet together, exchange views, and build up business connectivities. We also provide a platform for business matching as well. Last year, we have brought in more than 240 investment projects looking for, different investors as well as support from different professional services also. We also, over the year round, we study mission and Belt and Road Summit cannot organize over the year, but we have what we call a dedicated Belt and Road portal. Under that portal, we provide different sorts of market informations related to the Belt and Road. Particularly, we, as I mentioned, we see infrastructure is another very major area of development. We have a dedicated infrastructure toolkit there, providing different investment project lists, potential lists, and also there's a database for Hong Kong related professional service provider, so that they can meet up and another platform for business matching there. So since the launch of this Belt and Road portal 6 years ago, we have already accumulated more than 16 million of viewers. Nearly 90% of the viewers are from outside Hong Kong, from the rest of the world. So we see that is a very important platform for gathering information and also building up a business connectivities as well. So I will stop here for further discussion.
Yeah, thanks, Billy. Yes, I think it's time for some discussion because now we have come to our, we finished the 4 sessions, and then the 4th sessions is the natural, natural progression, right? So we start with the Belt and Road, and then the private sector, and then bridging private and professional services. And that you notice that, I'm sure you noticed, in the last session, we already talking about, whether Hong Kong should speed up joining the various new trade agreements. Okay, those are platforms, CPTPP, RCEP. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I wonder, if this is intelligence, okay, whether Billy, you can give us a share with some intelligence. What is the progress of this? Whether Hong Kong is in the pipeline of applying and whatever. Okay, so this is one thing. And also, I think we have some discussions a while ago in the chat box and also in session 3 about whether Hong Kong can develop some kind of action. I mean, SIPA-like arrangements. Okay, SIPA-like arrangements with the Asian countries. To start with, okay, so that our professional services can to facilitate the further entering the market, okay, and provide service there. Of course, they're already doing this, right? But I think this would ease some of the bottleneck and difficulties. So I think they are the 2 questions.
Well, talking about joining those free trade agreements, I think from from a trade and investment promoter point of view, definitely we strongly support Hong Kong in joining, different forms of free trade agreements, because that will definitely facilitate not just our trade in goods and trade in products, but more important, I think, is our trade in services. I mean, our professional service. But because nowadays the free trade agreement, Hong Kong, has a basically no tariff already. We are very open, but we are looking for more opportunities in trade liberalization in services sectors. If we join those free trade agreement, then say for example in ASEAN with other Australia or outside countries, more liberalization in the trade in services is very important, vital to Hong Kong. Yeah, as a services hub, not just in people coming here to Hong Kong to enjoy our services, but we can provide cross-border services to different countries as well. But that is not the duty, or responsibility of TDC. We are just a promotion organization. The negotiation for free trade agreements still rests on the government. The Trade and Industry Department. As far as I know, we have already submitted the application for RCEP in January. So I think Hong Kong can only wait. But also we have heard about, particularly mainland is in strong support of Hong Kong's entering into RCEP, and other ASEAN countries also expressed their support already.
So how about CPTPP? Are we in the pipeline of applying?
I haven't heard about that personally.
Okay. So you heard that there are some calls for of support, all right?
Yeah.
You can help us
for RCEP, yeah.
But there are some support for the CPTPP as well. So maybe you can help us to convey this message to the government as well, right? I think that this is what we talk about. Governance, right? So feedback from the society.
Sure.
Yeah, Karen, you talk about Hong Kong PCs are very innovative new services, right? For SMEs, yeah. So I think that this is important because Hong Kong PC is a very established organizations, right? So I think the new functions regarding SMEs, right? I think maybe some of our people may not be that well aware. So do you think, from your previous experience working with the SMEs, do you think that they really encounter a lot of difficulties, and then are they very interested in venturing overseas?
Well, from my side, our services mainly is to help those SMEs to acquire certain government fundings so that they could do business overseas. So what we do is we would do the form reviewing service, like I said before, which to avoid some of the common mistakes, the common problems that usually encounter, such as they may not have, be able to submit adequate information or supporting documents, or they may have, problems with how they finance, how they budget their whole operations, and also they may also not able to show their own capability in implementing the project, which hinder the success of the applications. And from our side, we really want to ensure, when we hope to enhance the efficiency of the entire application process so that they could get their money earlier, and then they could actually go and expand their business and overseas earlier. So this part is part of our service. And also in terms of the technical part, because we have experts in facilitating Hong Kong's reindustrialization in Industry 4.0. So we mainly focus on the R&D, IoT, big data analytics, such kind of technologies. So we want to help the SMEs to upgrade their business performance, lower their operating costs, as well as increase their productivity, enhance their competitiveness. So through this, our experts' knowledge and their technical background, they could facilitate these SMEs to expand, the operations overseas if they need this kind of professional service.
Well, although we are running out of time, I think we can I request we use up maybe 5 to 10 minutes more, all right, to have a bit more discussion. May I invite all our discussants coming in, and if you have I think this is the time for us to have a kind of round up, especially we think about from the wider perspective, okay, apart from our application of efforts on our own, okay, whether from a firm perspective or from an individual perspective, whether we think that we would like some, there's certain things, there's certain gaps that we need the public resources to help, or we want them to simply, for instance, raising transparency, okay, which is something that we talk a lot about in the first session. Then certainly how the public authorities and the services they can help in the various aspects. Yes, Anthony, would you like to elaborate a bit your suggestions?
Oh, you mean to Karen? Well, Karen, we on the HKPC we met a few times.
Yeah.
So I was saying that HKPC has a very good reputation actually to the manufacturing industries, and a lot of good innovation. And then I think recently HKPC has been doing exceptionally well. I mean, and helping all the SMEs with the SME1, helping all the SMEs to get the government funding, not only the BUD. Which is great, but if HKPC can actually maybe being a world PC or a ASEAN BC to help the Hong Kong's industries that has like facilities in ASEAN countries or even in South Asia or even Africa, extend these services to these factories, then it can actually bring out HKPC and to service them into, like, for example, Malaysia or Thailand or Vietnam, that can actually expand HKPC into these countries as well. I think that's a good opportunity. It's like TDC is here. So TDC has a lot of offices in all these countries. Maybe you can have a HKPC office in TDC and then start growing with it. And I think this will be good opportunities for HKPC to grow. And with that, a lot of Hong Kong professionals will benefit from that.
Yeah, excellent suggestion, right?
Yes, very good suggestion. Actually, HKPC, we do currently offer these services to our local companies in helping them to go overseas. But we don't currently have overseas offices. So we're only sending our experts overseas to help these companies set up their plants. So we do have this kind of service.
Yeah, but that's very expensive.
We hope that we could expand more as well.
Yeah, and even like in GBA, I think your office now it's in Dongguan and Shenzhen.
And Shenzhen, yes.
A lot of the Hong Kong industries are actually now being pushed out of Shenzhen and Dongguan. So maybe you should actually look at the whole of GBA, the servicing the whole of GBA. But I think HKPC has a really good reputation.
Definitely. Actually, we are now looking at Qinghai and the other regions of the GBA as well.
Yes.
Hi, Billy.
Yes.
Wilson, how about green and sustainability, which is also a major element for the whole world and also for us to consider? So any idea about this development?
Well, I think green and sustainability, or in even a broader term, the ESG topic, I think is very important, getting more and more important nowadays. I think from TDC's perspective, we are, adopting that theme, the ESG theme, in our different anchor events. Like, for example, in our Asian Financial Forum, we have a special thematic section dedicated to green finance. And also we have, even Belt and Road Summit, we also, build in those thematic issues in our different anchor events. I think it's getting more and more being, getting more and more important. And also different players, not just the manufacturers, but also investors, also financial operators and professional service providers are also looking into the development of that. Another area, TDC, maybe I just mentioned a little bit, is particularly after the under the pandemic issue, or particularly in addition to several the last few years, Hong Kong also developing new different development frontiers. Besides ESG issues, we are also positioning ourselves as a medical and health innovation hub also. We are also working on that, trying to build up Hong Kong's, not just the sectors players, but organizing the sectors players, but also promoting Hong Kong, the development of Hong Kong in this area to different overseas investors and industry players as well.
Thank you.
Well, excellent. By the way, I just want to mention that first of all, sustainability defines our work. Okay, a Research Center for Sustainable Hong Kong, and it is also a very important priority for our university, and also ESG. Since it was mentioned, okay, we actually have ongoing research on the ESG. Reporting, how to improve, okay, the reporting such practice in Hong Kong. So this is a project led by our colleague, Professor Phyllis Mo here. And in fact, Anthony, yes.
Linda, it's one of the things that actually Hong Kong is very much behind in the environment, in the ESG. Okay, we have the reporting standard, but our R&D into ESG is so lag behind because the land is so expensive, and what do you call it, the environmental hub or Wanboyuan, it's all already full, and then it doesn't make any sense like for normal industry to invest into that unless we have a very strong government support. Even the incinerators, I mean, it takes so long, so much arguments to where to build the incinerators. We are so much behind Europe or even the US on this kind of things. Yes, we do have a reporting system. We must report on the ESG, and we have the green finance and all these things, but these are all on the finance level, on the written level, but actually doing it, we're so far behind. So maybe this is one of the areas that Hong Kong can develop, like Phyllis can actually look into that as well.
Yeah, Phyllis is looking into it. Okay. Well, I can't agree with you more, Anthony, okay, because a few years back, I used to work a bit more, on sustainability, and of course we know Hong Kong is very behind, right? One example is of course the waste management scheme, right? And then that has been delay, right? And then so I don't want to talk more about it, okay? but certainly yes, I can't agree with you more, and so that's why Phyllis is working hard, okay? By the way, I think since time is running short, okay, but I think your the suggestion on outreaching, right? Outreaching more, I think is excellent. What Anthony's just mentioned about, for instance, the Hong Kong PC Productivity Council, already built on what they're already doing and already their outreaching work. But I think if more overseas offices and can be established together with the TDC, okay, TDC already done a very great job, and of course we would always support having more TDC offices out or in more places, okay, and so that would especially what we in our third section, right? CM talk about. He will be focusing on, okay, telling the story that Hong Kong, it has its unique institutions, okay, despite our our current difficulties. Okay, so so I think that is a message well taken and well needed. All right, our first session speakers put a lot of emphasis that I think how Hong Kong can sustain our reputation and our practice as an international community. I think that is of utmost importance, not only for Hong Kong, but obviously for the country of which we are part of, and of course for the work we are doing. And don't forget, we are here for sustainability, and sustainability is not only for our own individual, but also for the people who we are working with, right? We're working with. So yeah, I think this serves as the concluding remarks. Before we go, I think we should thank all of us, right? We should thank all of us, and in particular the participants who come today, and of course our distinguished discussants. And we should also thank all the previous, the speakers who contributed to our previous workshops. Some of them are with us today, okay? And then we, of course, we have to thank once more the collaborating organizations, our supporting organizations in Hong Kong and overseas, all right? So obviously we have to thank Hong Kong government who fund this project, okay? But we also thank a lot of our volunteers, okay? Because a lot of work actually is unfunded, I can tell you, okay? A lot of work is unfunded, and then so a lot of work was done based on enthusiasm. So of course that includes your time, and for that we wish to receive more of your feedback. So please give us your feedback in this survey. But in fact, apart from this survey, we might roll out a longer survey later on. Okay, so please do this first. Okay, do this first, and then when we have a longer survey, we would send to every one of you. Okay, so please help us to revisit what we have done and what you have experienced. Okay, and what are your thoughts? Put it this way: it's not a feedback on our workshop or on the symposium, but we would like to invite you to think with us together about the subject matter, that is what Hong Kong can do better for us ourselves and also for the recipient countries. Okay, so I think let's just stop here because we have actually overrun a little bit. So thank you, everybody. Do you have anything to add, Jeffrey? No. Okay, so I think I should thank Jeffrey and our team. Okay, Lo Man is here, and then and some team members cannot come today, and Linda Tjia is at home, right? Wilson, thanks, yeah. Wilson.
Have
thanks,
a nice weekend.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So, thank you.
All the best. Have a nice weekend.
All the best. Yes, all the best.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.